Three.
Okay.
Good morning, brother. I should say Dr. LeRoy Mitchell.
Yeah.
Someone who I've known for now 26 years, but who, having been born in Portsmouth, rose to the apex of American academia in way of tertiary level education. I believe the record reflects that he served as a professor of accountancy for 40 years at Iona College in New Rochelle, New York. And sometime in 2016, thereabouts, was made a lifetime member of the American Association of Colleges for his work in education. Good morning, Brother Mitchell. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Fine, thank you.
Today's date is the 7th of June, 2026. And I thought it important to record the life and times of LeRoy Mitchell, Dr. LeRoy Mitchell, because I met him.
Could you put, it's pronounced LeRoy. It's L-E capital R-O-Y.
LeRoy.
Yeah, and my middle initial is W.
So it's Dr. LeRoy W. Mitchell.
Correct, exactly.
It's not Leroy, it's LeRoy.
Exactly, you get it.
Indeed.
Correct. Yeah.
I'll maybe just say Dr. Mitchell.
Yeah, okay.
Dr. Mitchell, 26 years ago, in August 5th, 2000, I had a call with the late Raglan Revere. He had organized something called Sir Raglan Presents, which was a website in the early days of the internet in 1998, 99, to promote Dominicans who had done well in North America. I think you being one of them. And we decided to build on his website and create something called the Dominica Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Can you see me?
I can see you very well.
Oh, good, okay, good.
And he
There's
then...
a line across my thing, I can't see myself, but it's okay, okay. If you can see me, that's fine.
I can see you. And then he introduced me to Dr. Clayton Shillingford, the late botanist, to pass in 2024. And shortly after that, we incorporated the Dominica Academy, and you're one of the early members.
Yes.
And over the years, when I've interviewed other Dominicans who went to the St. Mary's Academy, the name LeRoy Mitchell always comes up. When I interviewed Gordon Henderson, your name came up with great reverence. When I interviewed Henry Volney, your name came up, along with people like Cuthbert Thomas and Benoit Sorrento, Sherman Severin. So I said, it's about time. And so here we are. And so, Dr. Mitchell, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in Portsmouth on Harbour Lane, actually, on September 24th, 1943.
Amazing. And who were your parents?
My mother was Olga Emanuel. She was a sister of Leo Emanuel Monigod, and you follow, and Augustus Emanuel.
I see.
She was their sister. And my father was Conrad Mitchell.
Yes.
He was Conrad W. Mitchell. He was born in Dominica, but his father was born in Canawan in the Grenadines, and later on moved to Beckway.
I see.
So his father was the brother of my grandfather was the brother of Sir James Mitchell's grandfather.
Amazing. So you're related to the former or the late St. Vincent Prime Minister, Sir James Mitchell.
Also, in addition to which, I was related to the late Sir John Compton.
Indeed, because I have James Mitchell's autobiography here, at my home. And when I read it, I saw the link between James Mitchell and John Compton.
Yeah, our great-grandmother.
Yes.
And John Compton's grandfather were brother and sister.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. And my great-grandmother was Mary Frances Compton.
Mary Frances Compton.
And his grandfather was George Benjamin Compton, you see.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Mitchell, you're a true Windward Islander. You have roots in Dominica, St. Vincent, and St. Lucia.
And not only, I used to tell people I was related at one point to 4 prime ministers in the Caribbean.
Tell us about that. Give us your names.
Well, I just gave you 2, right?
Sir James Mitchell and Sir John Compton.
And Eugenia Charles, Dame Eugenia Charles. Her father and my grandfather, George Emanuel, were brother and sister children.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And that's why I was influential in getting the Dame Eugenia Charles to get the honorary doctorate at Iona College, Iona University
Indeed.
back in the
Indeed.
day, you see.
Well deserved.
And then Rosie Douglas was also my cousin because my grandmother and his grandmother were first cousins.
Amazing. So you have Eugenia Charles of Dominica, Prime Minister, Rosie Douglas of Dominica, Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So Sir James Mitchell of, well, I should say Dame Eugenia Charles.
Yeah.
Sir James Mitchell of St. Vincent, Prime Minister, and Sir John Compton of St. Lucia, Prime Minister.
Yes.
4 Prime Ministers.
Yes.
1 female, 3 male.
Yes, exactly.
2 Dominican, 1 St. Lucian, 1 Vincentian.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you come from very solid stock, I must say.
Yeah.
So tell me, did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have 9. I had 19 siblings.
19 siblings.
My father had 9 of us, and my mother had 12 of us.
I see.
Yeah.
And you care to give me the names?
Oh well, okay. When my siblings, my oldest brother was Francis Laville, Flaubert Laville.
So Flaubert Laville was your brother?
No, Flaubert's son.
Okay.
My mother had a son with Flaubert Laville.
I see.
And then I was the second, and then my mother had a daughter with Peter Israel.
Okay.
And then she got married, and she had the roses. So you had Primrose Thomas, Irose Thomas, Melrose Thomas, Queen Rose Thomas, Duke Rose Thomas, Scott Rose Thomas, Ella Rose Thomas, Queen Rose Thomas, all, And then on my father's side, I was the oldest on my father's side. So after me, I had a sister called Doris. She lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. And then I had my brother Romulus, who's passed away. Then after Romulus, I had my sister Mary Mitchell, who is Mary Parilon, but she was a Mitchell. And then I had Elvius Mitchell. After Elvius, we had Galvin Mitchell, who's a police officer in Roseau. After Galvin, we had Ignatius Mitchell. And after Ignatius Mitchell, we had my sister Joanne Mitchell, who's now Warrington. And then my last brother, who is Crispin Mitchell, who's a big fisherman here in Portsmouth. Yeah.
Amazing. The last time we met Dr. Mitchell was at Miami Airport, I believe it was. We were going through customs and we chatted a bit, and you told me about a book, The History of Boat Building in the Windward Islands.
In the Caribbean, yes. Uh-huh.
In the Caribbean, yes.
Yeah. It was called Clean Sweet Wind.
One more time.
It was called Clean Sweet Wind.
That's correct.
Sailing with the last boat builders of the Caribbean.
Indeed. And it was a fantastic book.
I have the book here. 1 second, let me get the book. I have the book. 1 second.
Sure. Good morning, Dr. LeRoy Mitchell, Doctor of Business Administration, an illustrious son of Dominica, who in 2016 was made a lifetime member for leadership in higher education in the United States by the Higher Education Authority, the Association, I believe, of American Colleges and Universities.
The Association of Community College Trustees.
Association of Community College Trustees. Dr. Mitchell, today's date is the 7th of June, 2026. It's a high honor and privilege to be speaking with you. As I said to you in our earlier discussion, in recent video biographies done by yours truly of the famous musician Gordon Henderson and the eminent professor of European history, Henry Volney, they all mention your name as a distinguished teacher at the St. Mary's Academy back in the 1960s. And of course, you went on to distinction in higher education at Iona College. And so I thought it fitting.
It's now Iona University, by the way.
Iona University. I thought it fit in to interview you because 26 years ago, you're one of the founding members of the Dominica Academy of Arts and Sciences, which is a project designed to recuperate the Dominicans who had gone overseas in particular, and so reverse the brain drain and make that brain drain a brain gain for our development process. And Dr. Shillingford, who was the first president, has gone on. The co-founder, Raglan Riviere, with myself, who started this in August of 2000, August 5th, 2000, has gone on. Yeah. I thought it very important to speak with you. Dr. Mitchell, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born on September 24th, 1943, in the town of Portsmouth, in the street Harbor Lane, to be exact, of Portsmouth. Yeah.
And who are your parents?
My mother was the late Olga Emanuel, who was the sister of Leo Emanuel, Augustus Emanuel, who was Ufolo. Leo was called him Money God. And my mother also had a twin brother called Smith Emanuel. And my father was Conrad W. Mitchell. He was born in Portsmouth, but his father was a Romulus Sinclair Mitchell, who was born in Canouan in the Grenadines. He later on moved to Bequia with his family.
Yeah.
And then from there, he was a boat builder. He built schooners.
Stick a pin in there. Yeah. Because that was one of the most profound conversations we had. We were at the Miami airport a year ago, and we started speaking. We were in the customs line or the immigration line or something like that. Yeah. And you told me about a book that you'd read called Clean, Sweet Wind. Do you have that book with you, sir?
Yes.
Yes. Clean, Sweet Wind. And who is it by? Who's the author?
It's a guy by Douglas C. Pyle, Pyle.
And what is that book about? Can you tell the listening audience?
It's about boat building in the Caribbean.
Okay. So for those who are listening, the Caribbean, of course, was visited by Christopher Columbus from Europe. He was an Italian on the Queen Isabella of Spain. By the three ships, I think, that came were the
Santa Maria, Nina, and Pinta.
And Santa Maria. Nina, right. Pinta, and Santa Maria. And those boats were sailboats. And as a child growing up in Dominica, Portsmouth was the home of boat building. Am I correct?
Yes, my grandfather brought that skill to Dominica.
Indeed.
But he learned that from his grandfather in Canouan and Bequia.
Indeed. And those are huge boats. Those are boats 50, 60, 70, 80 feet long.
Exactly. 2 masters. And I'll tell you something else. In the same genre, one of the largest sailing boats built in the Caribbean was the Gloria S. Calita. Gloria S. Calita. That was built by his nephew.
Okay.
His nephew Reginald Mitchell, who was the father of Sir James Mitchell.
Indeed, I have Sir James Mitchell. For those who will be listening, Sir James Mitchell was a distinguished former Prime Minister of St. Vincent, their nation builder in many respects. And he went to the Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture in Trinidad. And then traveled all over the world, including studied in Canada as well.
Yes.
And he was the son of a boat builder. And in that book, he said that his father's boat would go all the way up the East Coast, all the way to Louisiana, all the way to New Orleans.
Actually, that's one of the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle. If you read the book, The Bermuda Triangle, you will see that boat in there, Gloria S. Calita.
I see.
That was the boat which Reggie Mitchell built, and he was coming from Mobile, Alabama, with a cargo of lumber going to Cuba.
I see.
And the boat was found bobbing in the Gulf of Mexico with no crew.
No crew. Amazing.
Yes, no crew.
So the Bermuda Triangle is a mysterious area out there in the Atlantic Caribbean area where boats disappear or strange things happen.
Strange things happen.
What do you believe is the basis for the Bermuda Triangle? Is there some
Well,
octopus that comes up from the sea and
no,
takes
I
everybody off?
don't know. No, well, apparently if you remember, that was during the war.
Yes.
So it is surmised that the U-boats. In fact, there's a book written now by somebody, the Sea Wolves, or some Richard guy.
Clement Baba Richards wrote Sea Wolves in Warm Waters.
Right, exactly. I don't
And
know
was-
if he encountered the incident of the disappearance of the Gloria Escalida, but it is thought that the U-boats must have torpedoed that, done something to either taken the sailors hostage or something, because they found the schooner, the sails were still up, but no crew.
I see. No crew. No crew.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite interesting, what happened. I actually wrote the introduction to that book, Brother Mitchell. And on Friday, we donated 12 copies to the library system and the schools.
Yes.
Richards and I were at the grammar school together. He was the head boy. I was his deputy. But his older brother, Major Francis Richards, with myself, when Rosie was prime minister, we revived the Dominica Cadet Corps, which had gone into dormancy after independence. But coming back to the boat building thing, when I got home, I bought the book on Amazon.
Yeah.
And I've finished reading it. And we had a history of wonderful. That's it right there.
That's my grandfather.
Your grandfather. Amazing. Lift it up a little higher. Lift it up a little higher. Amazing. He's the one in the dark suit or the white suit?
The white suit.
The white suit. Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Those were distinguished gentlemen.
That's Remulus and Claire Mitchell.
So they did not go to Marine Engineering Academy. Those persons there, like your grandfather, the art of boat building, sailboats and these huge boats, that was passed down over generations.
Yeah, but these boats were only sails.
Yes.
Only sails.
Yes.
You see? And he started building boats in Bequia.
Yes.
And then he came to Dominica and he built a few schooners here also.
Yes.
Right in Portsmouth, where the fishery is right now.
Yes.
In fact, when he died, he left a schooner framed.
Yes.
In front of his house on the beach there. Yeah.
Indeed. And now there's a Dominican boat builder by the name of Neville Wade, Captain Neville Wade, who's building an 80-foot boat. And all our firm and Rebuild Dominica has contributed to that process, and we hope he'll launch soon. But he said to me he would go to Martinique and get engines from German diesel trucks and put engines in his boat. So those are motorboats.
Yeah.
So tell me about your recollection of the marine industry in Dominica at the time you were a child in Portsmouth. Who were the boat builders and the boat captains?
Well, when I grew up, my grandfather was the principal boat builder. He brought the art of boat building to Dominica from Bequia.
Yeah, I see.
So he built a few schooners. I can recall the last one he built was the Malta. And in fact, he died on that boat on a maiden voyage from Barbados.
Well, how?
Well, he was sick and they took him to Barbados for medical treatment. And on his way back to Dominica, outside of Roseau, he passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And the schooner was anchored in a Portsmouth harbor for the longest while, and it sank in the harbor there. But besides that, he built the Malta, he built the Mary C. Mitchell. He had another boat called the Mermaid. When he came to Dominica, he came with a boat called the Columbia. Then he had, in fact, some of his boats are listed in that book I'm telling you about.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Clean, sweet wind.
Yes. Yeah.
And so for the listening audience, the Caribbean was the site of many battles between European powers, Spain, Britain, France, Holland, as they fought over the sugar islands, because sugar was the wealthiest commodity. Sugar was king. It was the wealthiest commodity on earth at the time. And that's what led to people of African descent being brought to the West Indies and the New World. They went to Africa because they needed African labor to work the sugar industry. And so you and I are direct results of the power of sail, because in those days, there were no motorboats. They were all sailboats. All the slave ships were sailboats. Yeah. The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria that Columbus had were sailboats. And so one of the things that has concerned me is the diminution or the disappearance of the tradition of boat building in the islands. How important do you believe it is for us to retain the ability to build boats?
Well, what happened was this. You see, these schooners, my grandfather built 17 of them in his lifetime. In fact, there was when they published the bicentenary document for Beckway, there's a picture of my grandfather launching a boat in Beckway, and he said where they killed the whole cattle and they were the whole bit, yeah. But so my grandfather, the schooner a Mermaid, we used to carry cargo all throughout the Caribbean. And it is I have been told that the decks of this boat was built with 2-inch thick, 3-inch thick planks. And they used to carry the colas, which were they used to for the roads from Trinidad all up the islands.
And colas, for those who are listening, colas is another word for tar.
Tar,
because we used to call it pitch. We used to also call it pitch.
Yes, right.
Because in Trinidad there was a anomaly in the bowels of the earth that extruded to the surface a lake at La Brea, which is made of we call it colas, they call it pitch or tar, and that tar was sometimes used to caulk the boats. Is that true?
No, it was used to caulk the boat and was used to mix with sand and chipping to pave the roads too.
That's correct.
Yeah, you see?
That's correct.
But my grandfather carried so much of these things in the barrels that it wore out the deck of the boat.
Oh, amazing.
Okay, amazing. Yeah. But you see, so in those days, these were the boats that carried cargo throughout the island.
Yes.
And they were sails, strictly sails, sailing boats. In fact, my great-grandfather, William Alexander Mitchell, was one of the first, if not the first, sailor in the Caribbean to be able to use a sextant.
Amazing.
A sextant, because in those days we didn't have compass and you had a sextant to get your sights from the sun.
Yes.
To sail through the Caribbean. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So these folks didn't go to Marine Engineering Academy, they didn't go to Naval Academy, but they were sort of groomed by generations that had come before, and the knowledge of the sea, boat building, navigation was handed down. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the genesis of this thing was when my great-great-grandfather, Sir George Benjamin Compton, came to Beckway, the Caribbean, Canoan. He came down with the Governor Snag, whom the Queen sent to be in charge of Canoan. And he brought with him his good friend, George Benjamin Compton.
Yes.
And George Benjamin Compton had learned the art of boat building where he came from in Hampshire, England.
Yes.
And then my great-grandfather, William Alexander Mitchell, came to learn the art of boat building from Compton.
Yes.
And he married his daughter.
Amazing. Amazing.
He married his daughter, Mary Frances Compton, you see.
So at this point in time, you're going to tell me your relationship with 4 prime ministers of the Caribbean.
Well, Sir James Mitchell, his grandfather and my grandfather were brothers.
Okay.
Sir John Compton, his grandfather, his grandfather and my great grandmother were brother and sister. Okay. His father was George Benjamin Compton Jr. and my great grandmother was Mary Frances Compton.
Okay.
And then Eugenia Charles, her father J.B. Charles, and my grandfather George Emmanuel were the children of brother and sister children.
Indeed.
And then Rosie Douglas, his grandmother on his mother's side, and my grandmother on my mother's side were first cousins.
Amazing. Yeah. So you've got relationships to the first Prime Minister of St. Vincent, Sir James Mitchell, the first Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Sir John Compton.
Yes.
Dame Mary Eugenia Charles was the first female Prime Minister in modern history of color.
Yes.
And certainly, then you had Rosie Douglas himself was Prime Minister.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So you come from some very distinguished lineage there, sir.
In fact, so John Compton's daughter, Nina Compton, Chef Nina, you heard of her? She came number 2 on America's Top Chefs.
Amazing.
And she now has a restaurant called Copain Lapin.
Copain Lapin.
In New Orleans, Louisiana.
Amazing.
Yes.
So Compton's daughter has Copain Lapin. Copain Lapin is Uncle Rabbit, is that?
Brer Rabbit.
Brer Rabbit.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
So there's a link between Louisiana. So I always tell people I like New Orleans. New Orleans always reminds me of Roseau, the old French Quarter.
Yeah.
And you know we brought your cousin Rosie Douglas there.
Yeah.
In fact, I think you and I may have been on the same plane going to Rosie's funeral, you know.
Yes, we were. That's how you first met, actually.
That's correct. That's correct.
I asked you, I said, where are you going to? He said, I'm going to Dominica. I said, wait, I'm going to Rosie Douglas' friend. I said, well, that's what I'm going to. And I said to you, Rosie is my cousin, because, you know, they invited me down and I came down and, you know.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And Rosie Douglas had been my mentor from age 15 when he returned from Canada.
Yeah.
And so we met then. That's correct. And so I mentioned that because Rosie Douglas was brought with the help of the law firm and Nature Island Inc., which was a law firm organized entity to promote Dominica's natural beauty as a tourism product and to do what you call ecotourism education. So he brought him to the University of New Orleans and he signed an MOU. And they had classes in Portsmouth, they had classes in Dominica, but then he died and the whole idea of the School for Ecotourism Education in Dominica perished with him. Yeah. Hopefully one day we can rebuild that. But New Orleans has a lot of sort of architectural and other similarities in historical, and the Creole culture, you know, with Dominica.
Yes.
But let me ask you about your mom and dad. So for those who heard what Dr. Mitchell said earlier about Leo Emanuel, a.k.a. also known as Money God, was a Dominican industrialist who, when I was a child, had Dumb Fruit, which was a fruit canning enterprise that canned pineapples, grapefruit, orange juice, and so on. And it was the same Rosie Douglas, your cousin, who in 1976-77 at a fair at the Portsmouth Secondary School showed off some old cans of Dumb Fruit. In a way to recuperate the industry because he had formed something called the Northern District Agricultural Processing Cooperative. And it was Rosie's idea to begin to can Dominican citrus and other products. But again, you know, it didn't happen, but it was a noble idea which we can pursue in the future. And then he also mentioned as a relative, Gone Emanuel. Glenworth Emanuel was the friend of my father and Twist Bertrand during World War II.
Well, Twist was my godfather.
Amazing. So Twist Bertrand is the father-in-law of my writing partner, Dr. Irving Andre, whose wife Kathy is Twist Bertrand's daughter.
And Irving Andre is my cousin.
Amazing. But LeRoy, you're related to everyone.
Well, I tell you, look, I'm serious. Irving Andre's grandfather, Austin Andre, and my grandmother, Mary C. Mitchell, were brother and sister.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So Irving is my second cousin.
Amazing. So there's very little we can say about Portsmouth that doesn't have the Mitchell, Emmanuel, or Andre name, or McGlaw, or Douglas linked with it. It seems to me everybody was having children in that close circle. Yes.
Well, my grandfather Mitchell came from the Grenadines, so he was on the close circle.
Yes, indeed. But when he came into Portsmouth, he became part of the ecosystem. Yes. So tell me about your siblings. How many siblings?
Well, I have 19 in all. My father had 9 of us, and my mother had 12 of us. You see? So my older brother was a Laville. He was a son of Flaubert Laville. A teenage love with my mother at the time. You know, my mother was on her way to St. Kitts and Flaubert was on the way to Curacao, and they met, and next my brother was there. Then I came along. I'm the eldest of my father's children. My older brother was my eldest, my mother's children. And after me, on my mother's side, I had another sister called Miranda Israel. She was passed on. Her father was Peter Israel, the late Peter Israel. And then my mother had a slew of roses. You had Primrose, Irose, Melrose, Scott Rose, Jet Rose, one has died. Scott Rose, Jet Rose, Ella Rose, Duke Rose, Queen Rose, and Flex Rose, right? Flex Rose, right? The roses.
Yep.
And on my father's side, you had, as I said, I was the eldest. Then I had my sister Doris, who was born in Barbados. She's now in British Columbia. And then my brother, Romulus, who's passed on. And then my sister, Mary Rochelle, who's now Mary Parilon. Her husband just passed away in last October. And then after Mary, we had Elvius Mitchell, the big fisherman here. Then after Elvius, we had Galvin. The Galvin, we had Ignatius. After Ignatius, we had Joanne. After Joanne, we had my youngest brother, Crispin. So Crispin and Elvius are big fishermen here in Portsmouth. Yeah.
Indeed. Before we go on to talk about Portsmouth in its heyday, on Friday, the author of Sea Wolves in Warm Waters, Clement Baba Richards, received a donation of 12 of those books, which spoke to the U-boat war. That's the Nazi Germany Kriegsmarine onslaught on the Caribbean during the war, which sank 449 boats at about the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, torpedoing Allied ships. And you said to me your grandfather from Beckway had built a boat called the Escalator?
No, it was not my grandfather. It was my grandfather's nephew.
Okay.
Reggie Mitchell, who was the father of Sir James Mitchell.
Okay.
He built a boat called the Gloria Escalita, Colita. It was a 125-foot, three-masted schooner.
Amazing.
And he was on his way from Mobile, Alabama.
I'm still opinion that those boats were built right there in the Caribbean, three-masted schooner.
They were built from the ribs were white cedar.
Yes.
Because white cedar usually grows on the side of a mountain, so the wind naturally bends the trees, so you have that curve.
I see.
And it is that curvature which they use to square them off and make the ribs for the boat.
I see.
And my father did the same thing here. I built my own boat when we used to get to the Cabrits and cut the white cedar.
So the white cedar was harvested in the islands?
Yes. If you go to Beckway, you'll see a lot of it there. That was used to, it was very seaworthy, you see.
I see.
So it was used to make the frame, the ribs of the boat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So he built the Escalita, and during the war, what happened?
Well, during the war, he was on his way sailing from Mobile, Alabama, with a load of cargo of lumber on his way to Cuba.
Yes.
And the boat disappeared. And the U.S. Coast Guard found the boat in the Gulf of Mexico. All the sails were up, but no crew.
No crew.
No crew.
So nobody up to this day figured out what happened to the crew.
Exactly.
Okay.
But again, it is thought that it was something to do with the Germans' operation in the Caribbean, but they did not sink the boat because the U.S. Coast Guard towed the boat back into Louisiana or somewhere over there, in the U.S. I happened to it eventually.
Yes. But you also mentioned the Bermuda Triangle. Tell us about that.
Well, that occurred. That's where they found the boat, in the Bermuda Triangle.
I see.
Bobbing in the water, all the sails up, and no crew.
Interesting. And for those who will be listening, the Bermuda Triangle refers to that area at about the Caribbean and the Atlantic, where
it starts from Bermuda down to Gulf of Mexico and back to Cuba. I think it's that triangle there.
Yes, and a lot of planes and boats and other things have disappeared there.
Yeah,
over the years. Yeah, but anyway, tell us about your early education in Portsmouth. Where did you attend school?
Well, I attended St. John's School. I started in the preschool. I'll tell you what happened. I was about 3.5 years old, and I lived with my great aunt, and her daughter, teacher little Muriel Waldron. She was a teacher at St. John's School. So when she would leave to go to school in the morning, I'd start to cry. So when she couldn't take that anymore, she said, okay, I'll take you to school with me. So I went to school with her and I sat next to her desk in the classroom. And at the end of the day, I did that for a while. At the end of the day, I would go home and I'd repeat all the lessons that she taught the kids in the school.
Amazing.
Thereupon the nun said, well, teacher, I think we better enroll him.
I see.
So
and in those days, the school was run by the Catholic Church nuns.
The nuns, exactly.
Yeah.
So they enrolled me 3.5 years old in the school. My first teacher was teacher Mary Lamotte, a distant cousin. And I attended St. John's School, the primary school, which was where Calls is now situated. That used to be a convent.
Yeah.
And this primary school, the preschool was the downstairs of Calls, the convent.
Tell us what calls stand for.
Center for Adolescents, where adolescents learn to love and serve.
I see.
Yeah.
And that is an organization that has a link to Nurse Olivia Douglas, the wife of Michael Douglas.
Yeah, exactly, correct. Yes.
Well, the widow of Michael Douglas.
Widow, yes, exactly. Yes.
Outstanding.
So from there, I moved into the big school, which is St. John's School now, which is the one across from the church.
Yes.
I went to school there.
Indeed.
And I got my primary education there. And I was there. And by the age 11, I was in standard 7.
Amazing.
And the thing is that you could not leave school until you're 15.
Yes.
So here I was, pining away in standard 7, no place to go. My parents couldn't afford to send me to high school. All my friends who were in high school were with me left because their parents were in England or like Charles Sovereign, Richardson Pansy. Their parents sent them to, Charles' father was in Curacao, so they could afford to send them to high school. So they went ahead of me, but I was there until my mother's aunt, who was married to R.B. Douglas's brother, Rodney Douglas. RBD went to Trinidad. His brother was the captain of the government tug in Trinidad. And he went to Trinidad and brought his brother back to Dominica to captain his boat, which he built, called the Princess Marina.
Amazing.
And so he was married to my mother's aunt. So when they came back to Dominica and they found me pining in St. John's School, my uncle, I call him Uncle Rodney Douglas, he said, no, you got to go to high school. So he said, you're going to go to high school. When you stop going, I'll stop paying, but you're going to go.
Yes.
So the academy, they used to have a common entrance exam, an entrance exam to go to the academy.
Separate from the government exam.
Exactly, yes. The Corpus Christi is passing.
I see.
You'll hear the sound. Anyway.
That's the Corpus Christi procession of the Catholic Church.
Exactly, yeah. So I took the exam, and in those days, they would give scholarships to the top 4. But you take the exam, and they would take the top 10 to come back and to be re-examined. What they would do is a 2-day process. The first day, they would teach you the classes rudimentary, little Latin, a little history, a little geography, a little math. And then the next day, you would take an exam on those subjects you were taught the day before.
Amazing.
You get a little disturbance because the Corpus Christi, we will stop talking for a while. Don't pause because you lose it. But you hear the noise because they're coming down my road.
Yes.
Okay, so
I cannot hear them, so it's okay.
You can't hear them?
No,
you hear them soon. So anyway, I became one of the top 10 of the 400 students who took the exam. So I had to go back and take that exam, go back for a 2-day session, and then they would award scholarships to the top 4.
I see.
But after the exam, you had to sit for an interview with the brothers.
I see.
Which I was unable to take because I had to get the boat to get back to Portsmouth.
Ah.
So I did not get a scholarship. So I was enrolled at the academy anyway. So I went back. I went to school.
What year was that?
1958.
Amazing.
They're passing my house now. They're passing my house now, yeah.
So in 1958, you would have been what? 15?
Yes, yeah. 14, okay. 15, yeah. So I was, my aunt Douglas, and Audrey Douglas and his wife, Auntie May, were paying my education until Brother Houlihan came as the new headmaster of the academy.
Yes.
And he called me into his office one day. And he said to me, LeRoy, why are you paying for school? I said, brother, I don't know. He said, well, he took the records out. And he said to me, you were number 2 in the exam. Okay. So you should have gotten a scholarship. But before I couldn't take the interview, I didn't get the scholarship. So he created a scholarship for me.
Amazing.
Called the St. Mary's Staff Scholarship.
Amazing.
To right the wrong. You see what I'm saying?
Amazing.
And that's how I got scholarship for the academy.
And at that time, the brothers were from Iona College, the Christian Brothers of Ireland.
Yes, exactly.
Why were they called the Christian Brothers of Ireland, but they were from the United States?
Because the founder was Edmund Ignatius Rice from Ireland.
I see.
Ireland. He founded the order in Ireland.
Yes. Edmund Ignatius Rice.
Yes, exactly.
And what was it? What uniform did you wear at that time at the SMA?
White shirt, the blue and gold tie, and khaki pants.
Yes, and shoes, brown shoe or black shoe?
I don't know that we had a color with the shoes.
Okay. I know. Okay. So let me ask you, what were your favorite subjects, and who were the most impactful teachers you had in that time?
Well, we had Brother Quigley, who taught me Latin. You had Egbert Germain, who taught me geography. No, yes, he taught me geography and French, I think.
Egbert Germain was a Dominican.
Yes, yes.
But he was not a brother at the time, was he?
No, he was not. And Patrick John taught me Latin also. And Patrick John taught me Latin and geography. Egbert taught me French. Egbert taught me French. Yeah.
Yes. So when you say Patrick John, you mean the future Premier and Prime Minister of Independence?
Yes.
Tell us about him. What kind of teacher was he, and what kind of personality did he have?
He was a very, very enthusiastic teacher. He had a wonderful handwriting on the board. Beautiful handwriting.
Yes.
And he was a down-to-earth guy, and he'd tell us all his stories when he went to SMA, what used to happen.
I see.
And I remember when he was dating his wife, his first wife, and he came back to school and told us, and so forth. He was just a good guy,
Yes. He was very young at the time.
Yes, very young. Yes.
How old would he have been, in your estimation?
At the time, he must have been maybe late teens or early 20s.
Late teens, early 20s. So these were students who had attended the SMA, had done well, and the brothers decided to bring them back as teachers.
Exactly. Yes.
The same thing later happened to you.
Well, the same thing happened to me, except that I taught at St. John's School before that.
I see.
As I was telling you, when I graduated from fifth form, I was in Portsmouth. I had come to Portsmouth, and I had graduated, no results yet, but looking for a job. Yes. And I was on my way to the presbytery to see Father Brevet.
Yes.
And on my way, I saw the nuns. Yes. And said, Teacher LeRoy, how are you doing? I said, well, sister, I just graduated from high school. And so she said, would you like to teach? I said, that sounds interesting. She said, well, Mother Superior is going on leave for 6 months.
Yes.
And we have a vacancy temporary for 6 months if you would like to teach for us for 6 months. I said, sure. So
Amazing.
I got in temporarily for 6 months. And in those days, if you were a female and you got pregnant on the job, you lost the job.
Amazing.
So while I was acting for 6 months, there was a teacher called Bruni Lawrence. She was the aunt of Alec Lawrence's aunt.
I see.
She got pregnant and she had to leave, she had to be dismissed. And I got the permanent position
I see.
to teach.
So how long did you teach there?
Okay, so while I was teaching there, which when you start off as before your Cambridge exams results come, you are a student teacher, making 60 to 50 a month.
Okay.
And then when your Cambridge results came, you are promoted to probationer teacher.
I see.
And then you have to take the exams to become an assistant principal.
I see.
And my uncle, Ordney Douglas, said to me, you better study for that exam because nothing beats a trial but a failure. So I studied for the exam. I was 19 years old at the time. And when the exam results came out, I was number 2 in the exams.
Amazing.
Wilfred Sebastian, who later on became education officer, was the first, and I was the second.
Very good.
And I became an assistant principal at age 19.
Age 19.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this about your SMA career. What exams did you take at Cambridge? And for those who are listening, at that time in Dominica, Dominica was a British colony, and the Cambridge University Exam Syndicate was responsible for what they call the GCE. Was it the General Certificate of Education, or was it something else?
It was called the Cambridge exam.
Was it called junior? Was it junior Cambridge and senior Cambridge?
No. It was GCE. It was GCE.
Yes.
Sixth form was the senior Cambridge.
Yes.
This was each Cambridge. But
there was the O level, and A level.
I took the O level, ordinary level. Yeah.
Yeah. What exam? What subjects did you study?
I studied chemistry, biology, French, Latin, English. Math. Math was trigonometry, algebra, geometry.
Yes.
Then I took geography, physics, biology, chemistry, I said, yeah. Latin.
Yes.
Latin. In those days, you got to take Latin, yeah. In fact, the brother used to say, while the grammar school boys were sweating the academy boys, the SMA boys.
One more time about the grammar school boys. That's the Dominica Grammar School, my school.
Yes,
which
yes,
is
exactly.
Another high school for boys. Yeah. What did you say? That
I said, Brother Quigley, who taught Latin, he said, oh, you should see them at the Cambridge exams. The grammar school boys were sweating at the Latin exam. They were sweating, while the Latin just flowed from the pens of the SMA boys.
Amazing. I remember after the 1979 riot, where Brother Jermaine had been roughed up by the soldiers, the crowd retreated to the Woodville Parish Hall. I think he had his arm in a sling. And he went to, so by the time I got to grammar school in 72, there was no more Latin being taught in schools. My brothers did Latin, I did not. But he went on the stage and with his, I think it was his left hand in a sling, with his right hand he said, Vox Populi, Vox Deo. What does that mean?
Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Voice of the people, voice of God.
That's right. So I didn't do Latin. That's what I remembered. So thank you for being a good teacher of Latin to explain to the people. So what he was saying was the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Yes.
And that was against his former classmate and fellow teacher.
Exactly, his classmate Patrick John.
So,
exactly.
Patrick John was on one side. The former SMA student and teacher was prime minister. And in the streets, opposing him with thousands of Dominicans was his former teacher and student friend, Egbert Jermaine. Yeah. And that was a sad day for Dominica, and it resulted in an insurrection after the riot that led to the demise of Patrick John. His member of his parliament crossed the floor under the leadership of Oliver Serafin, a grammar school boy, who was then a minister, and Oliver Serafin became the interim prime minister of Dominica.
In fact, he just celebrated his 80th birthday last year, or 2 years ago.
Indeed, indeed. I'm in communication with him, and I've interviewed him, actually.
I see. Yes.
Yes. So let me ask this question. What were the, and I take it you passed all your exams at Cambridge?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
What would you say was the quality of the education at the St. Mary's Academy at that time? And I just want for the listening audience to understand, in Dominica in those days, there were 4 high schools.
Yes.
For girls, the St. Mary's, for girls, the Convent High School and the Wesley High School.
Correct.
Convent High School being Catholic, Wesley High School being Methodist.
Yes.
For boys, the Dominica Grammar School, which was a government school, and the St. Mary's Academy, which was a Catholic, Roman Catholic run school.
Exactly.
There were 2 boys' schools, 2 girls' schools. There was no
Yes.
co-ed yet at the grammar school.
Exactly.
The St. Mary's up to this day is still only boys, and
Yes.
Wesley High School only girls, Convent
Yes.
only girls.
Yes.
But the grammar school is now since '72 became
Yes.
co-educational.
Yes.
In those days, they would say DGS stands for Dominica Grammar School. DGS stands for Damn Good School, and SMA.
No. Dogs Good Society.
Say it. I didn't hear that one. Say it.
Dogs Good Society.
Dogs. That's a new one. I never heard that one before.
Yes.
Dogs Greater Society.
Because they will say S, and they will say SMA means smell my ass.
That was the kind of rivalry,
Yes.
that you had between the grammar school and an SMA.
Yeah.
Well, by the time I got around, the sort of nomenclature was a little more elevated. It was Damn Good School, and SMA was smartest men around.
I see.
But what were the highlights of your education at the SMA? In the quality of education you had?
Oh, the quality of education at SMA was, to me, it was super. As a matter of fact, it used to be said that when you take the Cambridge exam, the high school leaving exams in Dominica, SMA, was equivalent to second-year college in the United States.
Well, I will tell you this now. When I came to the University of the District of Columbia in 1982, I got about 20 or so credits,
Yeah, well, we didn't get credits, but they put us in advanced classes.
Yeah, I never took a class of English. I tested out of English.
I see.
They gave me an exam, and when I took the exam, I tested out, and I just got the credit. I never had to sit for regular classes.
I get you. Yeah.
So in those days, the level of education in Dominica was such that when you came to the United States, you had an advantage. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you had an advantage. You were certain of the, as you said, certain of the courses you were exempt from, and then you put in the higher tier, if you will, of the courses. But you still have to go to take 120 credits,
Yes,
But you were put in the advanced sections of the classes.
Yeah, as a result of that,
excelled,
Yes.
It was almost a repeat of what you had done in high school in the first.
Indeed. So I taught at the grammar school from 18 to 20 or so, and then when I came to the States, I got out of the 4-year program in 3 years. Yes, indeed. Because of that same, whatever.
Yes.
But tell me, at the school, the brothers that had the most impact on you.
At SMA, it was Brother James Houlihan, who I had the privilege of seeing, meeting in New York, and he was poet, not poet, but what do you call it, in residence? What do you call it? Not poet in residence, but where they have these honorary people at the university where they stay and study and write. He was at Iona for a while.
Yes.
And I had Brother Quigley, who later on left the brotherhood, and he would tell us, "Son, man must burn out, not rust out."
Amazing.
Yeah. And he later on became vice chancellor of the education for the state of Massachusetts.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I had a Professor Quigley as well for finance. I'm wondering whether they were related.
I don't know.
Yes.
He was Lawrence Quigley.
Lawrence Quigley. Yes.
And then we had Brother Hoban.
James Houlihan and Lawrence Quigley.
Yes, and we had Brother James Hoban, who taught.
How is Hoban?
Hoban.
Okay.
Who taught physics and chemistry. And then we had Brother O'Gorman.
How do you spell O'Gorman?
Capital O-G-O-R-M-N-A-N.
I see.
William O'Gorman. And he taught English.
I see.
He was very good at that. Very good. And I met him again back in the States when I went back. He was teaching in one of the Christian Brothers schools. And of course, he eventually left the Brotherhood and he passed away. Quigley, I'm not sure. Quigley, he's still in Massachusetts. He left the Brotherhood and he got married. Brother, who else? Brother Julian died as a Christian brother. And while I taught at SMA, we had Brother McGraw, Brother Corley, and Brother Mostyn. Brother Mostyn. I think Brother Mostyn just passed.
McGraw is M-C-G-R-A-W.
Correct, yes.
And Mostyn. How do you spell Mostyn?
M-O-S-T-Y-N.
M-O-S-T-Y-N.
Yes.
Interesting. Was it common for several of the brothers to later on in life get married?
No, they were not supposed to get married. Some of them left the Brotherhood to get married.
I see. Yes.
They left the Brotherhood to get married.
Like Brother Jermaine did that, didn't he?
Brother Jermaine did that. Brother Quigley did that. Brother O'Gorman left the Brotherhood, but he never got married. We had Reneth Sorrento, was a brother, and he left and got married.
Yes.
And we had one of the James brothers, Michael James, who was the was it Michael or Raphael? One of them. Raphael and Michael James were twins.
Yes.
Their father was a lawyer, James, here in Dominica, and one of them
Were they brothers to George James who perished in the Carnival fire?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably, yeah. Younger brothers, yes. Yeah.
So one of them became a brother.
One of them was a brother, yeah. They were related to Tong's wife.
Yes, Tong's wife, yes.
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 First cousins. Yeah. First cousins. Yes, indeed. But there was the James brother who had the pharmacy close to Windsor Park, if you remember.
I see. So that's Mabel Moore James.
Right, exactly. So
that family.
Yeah.
Amazing. Let me ask this question. What kind of youth organizations shaped your leadership abilities while you were at the grammar school, at the SMA? Did you have Cub Scouts and YWCA?
No, we did not have YCW at SMA. We had the houses, you had St. Ignatius House, and Francis House, and James House, and St. George's House. There were houses.
What was your house?
I was St. Ignatius House, the same house as Rosie Douglas.
Amazing.
But I was never a
So listen now, tell people about this, because many people don't know this, that Rosie actually later was a cadet sergeant at the grammar school, but he actually started at the SMA.
Yeah, he went at SMA. Yeah, he attended SMA. He was my senior, and he was the senior head boy in the St. Ignatius House, and I was in the junior. I was the junior head, but I never played sports. The only thing I played is the radio. So
radio.
So in order to play sports, they made me captain of the house. But yes. I got Lambert Lewis, who was head of NBD at the National Bank of Dominica. I got him to be vice captain, so he would run the show.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Lambert Lewis.
Yeah.
The weekend before 9/11, we were at the home of Sherman Severin with Lambert Lewis and Alec Lawrence and Thompson Fontaine to discuss a Dominica International Bank of Finance and Commerce.
Yes.
So we could corral the financial resources of the Dominicans overseas. And then the 9/11 happened.
Yeah, in fact, I had mentioned that to Lambi. I said, Lambi, we could encourage Dominicans to come back home to build.
Yes.
And your bank would be the facilitator with the finances to get the build. And I said, if you needed the expertise to examine their financial statements in the States,
yes,
I would be willing to do that as a certified public accountant, you see.
Yes.
So that you know who you are lending money to and so forth and so on. And Lambi said to me, man, you don't know Mitchell. I said, what? He said, sometimes when these people work, they haven't got enough money to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage, so they may not even be able to save to build in Dominica. But I said that was the facility that he should have tried to do to encourage people to come back home to build. And as a matter of fact, when I built my first house here in Dominica, I applied to Barclays Bank
Yes.
I was 2 years going and they were giving me a hard time. And my friend, the late LeRoy King, who just died, he was in that Sanford thing in Antigua, LeRoy King.
Yes.
He was a good friend of mine, fellow Iona student. He was vice president at Bank of America.
Mm.
And he called Lambie and said, Lambie, if there's somebody you should be able to lend money to, is LeRoy Mitchell.
Yes, because LeRoy Mitchell is a successful academic.
So when I came down to Dominica, I went to Lambie and Lambie loaned me the money to build my house in Zikak.
Yes.
And then when I built my other house, the loan officer at the time was Al Monel, who was my former student at
Yes.
SMA. And I got the money. And in fact, I to show how things happen, I was living in the house. I hadn't signed the mortgage yet. And Al said, Mr. Mitchell, you haven't signed some documents yet. And I said, oh, I'll come and sign them. And I signed them. But the irony was, after I got the loan, I went to Barclays Bank and I saw the guy who was there, the manager. I said, you guys should be embarrassed. I said, what happened was, after I built the house, the first tenant I got there was a consultant which Barclays had here visiting, do some work.
Amazing.
So I said, you guys refused to give me a loan, and my first tenant was your consultant to come to Dominica. It's ironical, you know what I'm saying?
Indeed. Let me ask you this. How important is it, as a person who's an academician, you've studied at the highest level of accountancy, for developing countries like Dominica to have facilities that allow for the recuperation or for the inflow of foreign exchange from the overseas populations? How important is that?
It's very important. It's very important. The banks have to become more amenable for the people. I can tell you a very dirty thing which happened to me just last year. As you know, I was a principal of the International University for Graduate Studies, which I cited in Dominica.
Yes.
Okay? And we were getting some investors last year to boost the education, the institution. And the investors sent me the money, sent us the money to Dominica, and the bank sent the money back.
Amazing.
They refused to accept the money.
Amazing.
And notwithstanding the fact that the other principals sent all their information, their utility bills, their certificates, their everything, recommendation to the bank.
Yes.
And after 4 months of going back and forth, they refused to accept them. And not only that, they closed our account.
Amazing. So you're saying to me that our banks, maybe under the principle of know your KYC, know your customer, they're afraid maybe of being sanctioned by OFAC, by the U.S. Treasury?
Whatever it is, yes. And the amazing thing is, I had a copious amount of money, was personally in the bank.
Yes.
And I'm a shareholder of the bank.
Yes.
You see? But
so are you saying to me that U.S. laws, as practiced now or as imposed now, sometimes militate against investment?
Yes, because the banks in Dominica are afraid of their shadow.
Yes.
So we say we have sovereignty, but we have no sovereignty because we are captive to the dictates.
Yes.
Of Bank of America, which is our correspondent bank.
I see. How do we change that? As someone who's grown up in finance and accounting, how, using our native intelligence, do we find a way to escape that hegemony?
Well, the point is that most transactions right now, which was happening with Iran now, trying to move from the US dollar to the yuan as the currency for the oil. You see, most of the transactions, international transactions, Bank of America is our correspondent bank. Yes. And this anti-money laundering thing is worldwide. So they almost dictate to the banks here, which are the correspondent banks, what you should and shouldn't do. As a matter of fact, the banks tell me that the US imposes all these guardianship on them, but never even pays to do it. They have to foot the bill to get the computers to trace, to target a money laundering within our shores.
I see.
And these are imposed upon them by the Bank of America, by the US.
So you're saying that the cost of doing business is burdensome and really harmful to the economies of those islands.
Yes, yes. Well, part of what was harmed the economy was in the days of Bill Clinton, when he sued the Caribbean to protect the Dole and Chiquita bananas in Latin America. If you remember that.
That's how the Caribbean banana market was destroyed, wasn't it?
Exactly. Well, yeah, because the European Union used to give us preferential treatment.
Yes.
Because of.
So you're saying that U.S. policy in the past 30 or so years has been quite inimical to the development of the Caribbean economies.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Very much so.
Yeah.
In fact, I understand that they would not allow our mangoes to come to America because they said the fructose content was too high. Our mangoes are too sweet, you see.
Let me ask you this, before I go into your higher education. After having lived, how long have you lived in the United States? More than 50 years?
Yes, I got here in 67, so it's like 59 years almost.
Yes, 59 years. What have you seen in the changing relationship between the Caribbean islands, where we were born, like Dominica, and the United States? Has it improved in a way of facilitating economic growth, or has it deteriorated, in your view?
It has deteriorated to the extent that the U.S. is putting more restrictions on our crops or exports to the U.S. I don't know whether their standards are too high or we fail to meet their standards or whatever, but it's very difficult to pierce the U.S. market.
Yes.
Moreover, you have the facility of U.S. visas, for example, right now.
Yes.
To get to I don't know if I could be able to get to the U.S. today if I had to do it. You see, because the embargo on traveling to the U.S.
So for islands that were instrumental because of the sugar industry's wealth in the creation of U.S. wealth, I always tell people the United States grew wealthy of its trade with the Caribbean islands in its early days of the 13 colonies. And that's one of the reasons why Alexander Hamilton was Secretary of the Treasury, because the commercial links with the United States and the English-speaking islands and the other islands were so great that they were almost inextricable. For instance,
and let's not forget, and let's set the record straight right here. Alexander Hamilton was born in Nevis.
Indeed.
And a lot of Americans don't understand that, because he was trying to be president of the United States.
Yes.
And he could have been, although they say the Constitution says no one shall be president unless you were born in the U.S. However, when Alexander Hamilton wrote the Federalist Papers and the Constitution, he made sure he slipped in a little line in there, which said, except for those who are citizens at the time of this signing.
Amazing.
So that qualified him to run for president.
Indeed.
And if you look at the Constitution, you see it in there.
Yes.
Clause in there.
Yes, indeed. So how do you then, as an academician, someone who's been very trained in business systems, how can a country like Dominica or the West Indies writ large find ways to democratize their relationships with other parts of the world to sort of escape that sort of deteriorating relationship we have with our traditional ally and partner?
Well, we have to, number one, one of the things which I think brought us down to this point was the lack of transparency in the citizen by investment situation.
Yes.
And you can very well empathize with those countries, because if they honor a Dominica passport, they want to know that there's integrity behind it.
Yes.
And so they want to know who are they admitting to their shores.
Yes.
And if there was not a good vetting system for those people who got the passports of Dominica, then that created a problem.
Yes.
So I think we need some more transparency in our deliberations.
Yes.
And you understand correctly, part of the requirements of the new, the new formula which the International community has imposed upon the island that have the CBI is that the monies should be lodged in the treasury of the country.
Yes.
And I don't know how well we are doing that now, and the accountability of this whole thing. You see, that's one of the problems which I think we're facing. But barring that,
and we're talking here about the situation where several people who had Dominican passports or citizens as diplomats or as regular citizens were found to be money launderers or international criminals. Is that what it is?
yes, that's what I understand. Yes. And
so it has created a sort of taint, is what
exactly right. Exactly. Okay. So we have to redeem ourselves.
Indeed, indeed. How important? So before I talk about the Dominican Academy and so on, tell me about the famous Dominicans who you met while a student at the St. Mary's Academy, people like Schumann, Severin, and others, and so that.
Well, Schumann, Severin, and I were very, very close friends. We were very close friends. In fact, I took when he left Iona, and he went to Iowa State University to study metallurgy, got his PhD in metallurgy.
Yes.
I took the bus, the Greyhound bus, from New York to Ames, Iowa, to spend a week with him.
Amazing.
That's how close we were. And as a matter of fact, when his cousin, Jean Joseph, who's a big CPA in Brooklyn, when she came to the US to go to get her studies, because she was Sherman's first cousin.
Yes.
I was the one he called from Iowa and says, my cousin is coming up, pick her up at the airport and make sure she gets the next plane to meet me in Iowa.
Amazing. Yes, so yes. Jean studied in New York or in Iowa?
She studied in Iowa first, and then she came back to New York. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Tell us what kind of person Sherman Severin was, and let the listening audience know that at the Dominica Diaspora Summit in New York on December 7th, 2001, at the Brooklyn Marriott, Sherman Severin was our keynote speaker, and of course you were there. He had gotten his PhD in physics, focused on metallurgical sciences. I've actually got his master's and PhD thesis in my computer. I downloaded them from Google Research Docs, where he studied at the Iowa State University.
Yes, exactly.
Supposedly, he was the only person of color involved in the development of the processes that led to the birth of the Intel chip. Tell us what kind of student he was and what kind of personality he had.
He had a very easygoing personality, but he was very smart. Yes. He was very smart. He came to the Iona a year after I did. As a matter of fact, when he first came, some of my winter coats I got, I said, trim on here. Because, we came here, we had no money. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So I gave him some of my coats and so on, and we were very close friends. He was my best man at my wedding.
Amazing. Yes. And was he also a fellow student of yours?
No, he came. No, he wasn't a fellow student. We taught at SMA together.
Yes.
He was a junior. I was higher up than him, so I came up to. Because you see, the deal at SMA was this: you would teach with us for 2 years, and then we give you a scholarship to Iona. And you don't have to come back. You don't have to. You don't have to. Okay.
Let me ask you this question:
the only one who sidestepped that procedure was Julius John.
Who was he?
He on his own, he was from Salisbury. He was from SMA also. He was the only one. He on his own, he applied to Iona and he got in.
Amazing.
So the same scholarship. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But we all had to go through that process.
Tell me the names of the famous Dominicans at that time who went through Iona, starting with yourself, of course.
Well, myself, we had Woolsey Lewis,
Sherman Severin,
Benoit Sorrendo, Markford Zamor, Ewart LeBlanc, Vance LeBlanc. I told you Woolsey Lewis.
Was there Cuthbert Thomas?
Cuthbert Thomas. Jones Murphy, father and son.
Yes, yes.
Ivor LeBlanc. I told you Benoit Sorrendo. I'm Clem Lewis.
Okay.
Ross Edwards. Yeah. I'm Rupert Sorrendo. Rupert Lance. I'm Robert St. John. It's all I'm Jerry. Well, Jerry Andrew did not come to Iona, no.
That's amazing. I think at some point in time, it'd be good for us to just have a roster and to say, you know, maybe what happened to them, what did they do? Because I know Rupert Lance became a mathematician.
Francis Grell was another one. Francis Grell.
Yes.
Yes.
I know that Rupert Serrano became a minister of education. Sherman became a physicist. What did Benoit Serrano do?
Benoit, I can't remember. In fact, I think he has dementia right now, somebody told me. He's in Florida. He married a young lady from St. Lucia. Her name was Ange. But I don't know. I can't remember where he worked.
Yeah, I know that Ewart LeBlanc became a physicist and became a researcher and inventor at Xerox Labs. Did very well for himself.
Yes, in Rochester, yes.
Yes. What about Cuthbert Thomas? What did he do?
Cuthbert Thomas, he taught at Brooklyn College. He taught Caribbean studies. In fact, he was on my doctoral dissertation committee.
So he was a PhD in history.
Yes, and he sat on my PhD on my doctorate, because I don't know why you have your committee, but you can select somebody from outside if you wanted to. And I selected Cuthbert Thomas.
Okay. What about Francis Grell? What did he do?
Francis Grell came back to teach at SMA.
Okay. What did he teach?
I can't remember. I can't remember what it was.
I know Jones Murphy did mathematics.
No, Jones Murphy, the father taught Latin.
Okay.
And the son taught mathematics. And the son came to Iona, and he was too smart for the environment, so he dropped out, and he came back to teach at SMA.
Yes.
And he came back and finished up at Iona. I think he works for Bell Labs and AT&T now. I think he started working for them.
Okay.
Very brilliant guy. Yeah.
Indeed.
And so was Ivan LeBlanc. He worked for AT&T, in science. Yeah.
How important was the Iona relationship to the intellectual maturation of the students of your time?
Well, the Iona, it was a pipeline. The pipeline to give us tertiary education.
Indeed.
Because UE was there, but UE was expensive.
Yes.
But at the time, Iona provided a pathway for us, because we got a full scholarship to Iona. All we had to do was to pay for our board and lodge.
I see.
The scholarship included our textbooks.
Yes.
I remember getting $50 a semester for my textbook, and I could buy all my books and have change left over to buy t-shirts.
Amazing. So you had your tuition paid for, your books paid for, you had to pay for your board and lodge.
Yes.
How easy was it for you to work as a foreign student in those days?
Well, when I came in, luckily, Clem Lewis worked in the career placement center, and he was able to make contacts for us. So my first job when I came up, was I worked in a dark room. I never knew anything about photography.
Okay.
But somebody hired me. In fact, when I got here on a Saturday. On the Monday, I was able to get a social security number.
Amazing.
Yes.
Now, you know that's not possible today.
Exactly, yes. I was able to go right and get a social security number. Clem Lewis took me, myself and Ross, we came together.
Yes.
Our numbers. And then I got a job working at Baby Guild Photographers. And I was working in a dark room where in those days, you develop the film, and you have to, the development process was very temperature sensitive. So you had the different baths, the developer, the stop bath, all the different baths. And I even learned to make the composite photos by hand, where you have 5 pictures on one sheet of paper.
Wow.
In the dark room, I learned to do all that.
Amazing.
And I started to work at $2.25 an hour.
$2.25 an hour. Well, I started to work at $3.65 an hour at a cinema, cutting tickets at the Circle MacArthur in 1983.
Yeah, exactly.
In those days, they changed the Social Security card to say you can get a Social Security number, but it says on the card not to be employed.
Yeah. Well, mine didn't say that. Like, we got a straight Social Security number. I have the same number up to now. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
And again, because of the network of Clem Lewis and those who came before us, Clem Lewis and who was there with him, they were able to arrange housing for us. So I got to live with a family And as I said, Julius, John, we lived together in the same house. We had our own room in this house, and they charged us $20 a week.
$20 a week.
Yeah. And when they raised us, they raised it to $21 a week.
So how many Dominicans were living together?
Well, Julius and I lived in the same house, but because by the time we came here, Clem Lewis and Bert Thomas, they're coming for us, they had an apartment.
I see.
So I spent my first night in their apartment in New Rochelle on 447 Webster Avenue in New Rochelle.
Amazing. Now, you're saying when you say Julius, you mean Julius Sampson?
No, Julius John.
Julius John. Did Julius Sampson attend Iona? No?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. Did you know Julius Sampson?
Pardon?
Did Julius Sampson attend the SMA?
No, he didn't. I think so, yes.
Okay, yeah. But not in your time?
No, I can't remember that. No.
Were you in town at the time of the Carnival Fire of '63?
I was in Portsmouth teaching.
I see.
Yeah, but I heard of the fire, and my good friend Eddie Martin and Rupert Lance got burned in the fire.
Yes,
and Shillingford, Eric Shillingford.
Yes.
There was one other guy, Keynes, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, got burnt in the fire.
Let me ask you this question. Did any of these people attend school with you? Rupert Lance or Eddie Martin?
Rupert Lance, Eddie Martin was 1 year ahead of me at SMA. Rupert Lance was taught at SMA with me, and then he was at Iona with me also.
I see. Tell me about Eddie Martin, what you remember about his personality and his character.
Very easygoing guy. He played music. He was a musician.
Yes.
Very, yeah. He was the older brother of Arthur Martin.
That's correct, Arthur Martin.
Yes,
indeed. Did Arthur Martin attend school with you?
Yes, we were at SMA together, yeah.
I see. Indeed. Were you a Cub Scout at the SMA?
No, I was no Cub Scout, no nothing. I was just my student. Back then, my nickname at SMA was Books.
Books. Was there a hostel at the SMA in those days?
I lived at the hostel, yes.
Okay. And was there a student by the name of Algernon Maffey?
Algernon Maffey? I knew Algernon Barabas. I didn't know Algernon Maffey, no. I know Francis Grell, not Francis Grell, Albert Grell, Severin Grell, Luke Frederick, George Nicholas, Stanislas Nicholas, Augustus Etienne, Joseph Blow. These are the people who lived, the Prevost, the older Prevost brothers. Yeah.
Okay. So what was life like in New Rochelle in those days when you came up?
Oh, life was good. I mean, we would walk. We had a long walk to school. And New Rochelle was a buzz. It was starting to evolve. Now New Rochelle is completely built up. But back then, we had, Iona was the biggest institution there. And we had the New Rochelle Hospital. Right now, Monroe University is in New Rochelle also, but that came later. And you had the College of New Rochelle, which is now defunct. Yeah. But New Rochelle was...
Let me ask that. Civil rights. You came here in '67 when civil rights was at its apex in way of the civil rights movement. How did that affect you in any way?
The only thing time I was, how should I say, impacted by it was when I needed an internship. All the firms gave me an offer for an internship except one. It was Cooper's and Libran. Back then they were called Libran Ross or Cooper's, whatever it was. And one of my classmates worked for them, and he says, "LeRoy, the reason why I didn't take you was because you're black." But I got offers from all the big 8 firms at the time.
Yeah.
See, I worked for KPMG as a junior, as a sophomore in college at 345 Park Avenue in Manhattan. I also worked at Ernst Ernst at the time. They were Ernst Young at the time. They were Ernst Ernst. And I'll tell you how I got to Ernst Ernst, actually. I was at Iona. I was a junior in college. I was working at the library. And when I was working at the college library, the phone rang, and it was the head of the career placement, Dr. O'Connell. And he says, "LeRoy?" I said, "Yes, Doc." He says, "Earl Potter wants to talk to you." So I said, "Yes, sir." What happened was when I was in my advanced accounting class, there was this guy, bespectacled fellow, coming, thinning here, bespectacled, walked into the classroom once a week, sat at the back, took his class, and left. We wouldn't see him for the rest of the week. So while I was in the library that end of the semester, the career placement called me and said, Mr. Mitchell, Earl Potter wants to talk to you. Within 5 minutes later, the dean of the business school called me from the library and said, Mr. Mitchell, Earl Potter wants to talk to you. So I said, but sir, who is Earl Potter? He said, Earl Potter is the managing partner of Ernst Young, Ernst Ernst in White Plains.
Amazing.
And Ernst was one of the big 8 CPA firms. So I picked up the phone and I called Earl Potter. I got his secretary, her name was Marianne. And he came, he says, LeRoy? I said, yes, sir. He says, Dick Godimer told me about you. So Dick Godimer was that speckled fella who sit in the class. He was an attorney, and he was a tax supervisor at Ernst Young, Ernst Ernst in White Plains. But he was taking that course so he could sit for the CPA exams.
I see.
And he went up and he told his boss about my performance in class. And they called me and offered me an internship for the summer.
Amazing.
And I tell people I've never applied, thank God, I've never had to apply for a job in my entire life.
Amazing. You were spotted.
Yeah. And so he hired me for the summer. I was, you know, they used to, those days, they used to take tabs on your occupancy. So by the time the summer was over, I was 115% occupancy. I was working. So I was a junior year. So when the time came for my graduation, they told me that I didn't want to go back to KPMG, Pete Marwick at the time, because I didn't like Manhattan. So all the big 8, as I said, gave me offers to Arthur Anderson, Pricewaterhouse, they all wanted me to work for them. But I didn't want to go back to the city. So Ernst told me, no, we want you. And at the same time, Iona offered me another scholarship to do my MBA.
Amazing.
Okay. The dean, I applied for the scholarship, and the dean said to me, Mr. Mitchell, did you take the GMATs? I said, I took the GMATs, but you know, I from the Caribbean, you're not accustomed to these canned exams.
Yes.
So I didn't do as well as I was supposed to. So when I came, I asked him for a scholarship, and he says, you should do better, you should do well on the GMATs, you should do better on the GMATs. So I said, Dr. Matt was the dean at the time. I said, Dr. Matt, I think that my 3.5 years in college are a better representation of my ability than a lousy exam I have to take under artificial conditions. He says, Mr. Mitchell, what is your index? What's your grade? What's your GPA? I said, 3.8. He says, Mr. Mitchell, I know you were smart. I didn't know you were that smart. Within 1 week, I got a full scholarship, got my MBA at Iona.
Amazing.
Getting paid. See, so that's what happened.
So you got your bachelor's in accounting at Iona.
Yeah, and my master's.
Master's in Iona, and your PhD.
In accounting. And my PhD from New York University, the Wagner School of Public Administration.
Outstanding. And so your PhD is in business administration?
My PhD is in public financial administration.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
And you also took your CPA exam?
Yes.
When did you take it? What year?
1973.
Okay, so you've been
in those days, you could not take all 4 parts. You could take the 3 parts, and then you had to wait for a year's experience, 2 years experience, to take the auditing part. But amazing. Because I had my MBA, I only had to get 1 year experience. I got Ernst Young. So I got I graduated in 71, and I got my MBA in 72, and at the same time, 73, I got my CPA.
And when did you get your PhD?
In 85.
Outstanding. And so once you got your CPA, did you go into private practice, or did you go back to academia?
When I got my CPA, I was working with Ernst Young, but my chairman in accounting at Iona said to me, we would like to have you to come to teach with us.
Amazing.
Like to have you come. I said, yes, we'd like to have you. So at the time, I was making $14,500 a year at Ernst Young.
Big money in those days.
Yes. And I came to Iona to make $11,500.
Okay. And
the $500 I had to fight for because they had to give me a title to justify the extra $500. He said I was the supervisor of accounting labs. So,
Amazing. So you lived on campus?
But no, what do you say?
At that time, once you became a professor, you had quarters on campus?
No. I had my own place. But what happened was I became a professor at Iona, and I taught there. I was a superintendent, and then what happened after that? I taught there. Yeah, I told them that the only way I would come to teach them was if I could open my own practice. So I had one of my colleagues working at Ernst with me. So I said, let's go teach. They would allow us to open our own practice. So I started, that was 1974. I started my own practice with a friend of mine called Thomas Polina, who's Italian.
I see.
And we started, he was my schoolmate also. And we started the practice and we taught at Iona. Eventually,
so you had two tracks. You were teaching at Iona, but you also had a private practice doing accounting.
Exactly, right. Exactly.
Yes, indeed. And any comments on your 40 years as a professor?
41, yes.
41. Any comments on what that was like?
Well, I taught different subjects. I taught different subjects. I taught accounting. I taught private accounting. I was when I was chair of the Department of Accountancy at Iona, I brought in the full-fledged course in government accounting. So I was a member of the Association of Government Accountants.
Yes.
And I got my CGFM designation, Certified Government Financial Manager.
I see.
I got it. And some year in the 70s, they gave me the Educator Award, National Educator Award from the Association of Government Accountants, AGA.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How important do you think Institute of Government Accountant is for developing countries to make sure that issues of procurement, issues of transparency in the public interest, issues of proper management of government resources, to ensure that there is no sort of corruption? How important is such a system of education for the public service?
Well, we do need educated, credentialed people in public service, and to my mind, it's a pity that when our graduates do their thing elsewhere, the country can't afford to pay them, or they don't give them the respect that they're due when they come back, and it becomes a problem. So many of our people have come and they have returned because their credentials are not recognized. They say, because you come from America, you think you know everything. That's the thing, you know.
So when we created the Academy in 2000, of which you became a member, how important do you think was the Academy of Arts and Sciences?
Well, the Academy of Arts and Science was an organization which was formed to foster, number one, assisting Dominica economically, and also, if by extension, if Dominica prospered economically, then it would be able to accommodate those of us who were credentialed elsewhere to come back home.
Indeed.
Because if you have a thriving economy, you could support that kind of thing.
Indeed.
But it never happened for various reasons. In fact, if you remember, in 2004, Raglan, Revere, Shillingford,
Clayton.
No, not Clayton.
Davidson,
and myself.
Yes. We
wrote this white paper.
Yeah, the Dominica diaspora policy.
Right. No. It was the policy. It was a document to assist in development of Dominica.
Yes.
And Clayton Shillingford and myself in 2004 personally delivered the document to the Prime Minister, who is there right now. And to this day, we have never received an acknowledgement of receipt of the document.
Yes. And that's when you see Prime Minister Roosevelt scared by this.
Yes, exactly. Far less to get any implementation. And what we did, and some of the recommendations we had for moving Dominica forward, did not even involve money. It involved just doing things differently.
Yeah.
You see? and that was never really acknowledged.
I can tell you as the general counsel and co-founder of the academy that we never got a dime from government of Dominica in support, but we raised at least $14 million Eastern Caribbean dollars in cash and kind, and about maybe 20 of us built our homes. I built my home, you built your home, Clinton built his home,
Yeah.
J.B. Sampson built his home.
Yeah.
How valuable was that engagement, and what is the missed opportunity that you see?
What is what?
How valuable was that engagement, and what were the missed opportunities from failing?
Well, the engagement was I want to invest in my country. Okay, so I decided to build a house and to come back. You know, that's why I built it. You know what I'm saying? And to me, if a lot of us were to come back, it would be you have a thriving economy, would have the brain trust and the whole thing to move. But in fact, based upon that, I even invested in other properties in Dominica. Yes. I invested in property in Picard. I have a farm here in Valley. I invested in a property in Mayro because when I was in college, they were developing Emerald Hillside Estates. Yes. And the gentleman who was there, I forgot his name, if you were Dominican, they'd give you 25% off the price.
Yes.
So I bought a piece of land in Mayro, which I still have, on the hill, 8,000 square feet. The price was $3,600 US. I paid $2,700 US for it. Still have it there. You see?
Yes. And let me ask you this question.
So all these things were. Yeah. Go ahead.
Why do you believe we were not received by the government favorably?
Part of it was a fear of competition. People thought that we were coming to compete, or they thought that we thought we knew it all, and were not given a chance to do these kinds of things. Not that, and again, let's face it, the country at the time could not afford to replicate our income elsewhere.
Yes.
However, I think if we were allowed to put into place the mechanism to make the country a thriving economy, it may have been able to sustain.
Indeed.
But we have even physicians who have come here and the country could not afford to pay them and go elsewhere.
Yeah.
You see? Like Lester McIntyre, one of my students, actually.
Yeah.
He's in Miami for the longest while, I understand, right?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of others like that.
Yes. Yes. And the whole idea, Dr. Mitchell, of distance learning and partnership with the local college and partnership with the local hospital system and other organizations, that would have been, of course, a favorable thing for Dominica's economy, would it not?
Well, one more thing. As you said that, we are trying to promote wellness tourism.
Yes.
Well, one of the tenets, if you had wellness tourism, is a good health system.
Yes.
You see. And from what I hear, even though we have the physical structure, the Dominica Friendship China Hospital, I don't know that we have either the equipment or the expertise to bring that to fruition. We are building healthcare centers all over the place, but we have a hospital in Portsmouth, which is halfway closed because of mold since Hurricane Maria.
Yes.
And at that hospital in Portsmouth, we used to have a resident physician, we had a nurse's quarters,
yes,
we had a doctor's house, and we had different wards. And there were major operations being done here at that hospital.
Yes.
You see? People like Bernard Sorrento, the late Bernard Sorrento. I know of people who had migrated to England, and when they wanted to have their babies, they'd come back to Dominica so Dr. Sorrento could deliver their child.
Yes.
You see? And we had people, we had in the hospital, we had my grandmother in her late years, in the 70s, almost 80s. Her leg was amputated right here in Portsmouth Hospital.
Yes, yes.
Now we don't have. One second. But it's called. 1 second. 1 quick second. One. You see, you had yeah.
Okay. So very, very good. So you're saying we lack the human resources for takeoff.
Yeah, what I'm saying is one of the important things of nature tourism is having a good healthcare system to support it.
Yes.
You see, you have the rivers, you have the nature, the tranquility. If you have a very good healthcare system support, people will not be, and that's one of the reasons, by the way, which at this point, a lot of our expatriates are afraid to come back home because of the healthcare system.
Yes.
A lot of our expatriates came back from England and America, and when they need medical services, they go back to England and America. Some of them die there, but they build their homes here, but when they need medical treatment, they go back elsewhere because we can. And if we had the state of, if we invested in a good basic healthcare system, tourists would not be afraid to come here and live and build here.
Yes.
I'm saying because the nature is there, they could enjoy the natural ambience of the country, and
Yes.
they would have no fear that they will be taken care of if they fell sick.
Indeed. In fact, we had a Dominican leader here who went home, Simpson Gregoire, and he fell ill and had to come back, and he passed here. So, and we have a lot of very trained Dominican doctors all over the place, Canada,
Yes.
United Kingdom, United States.
You have Dr. Dangleben.
Dr. Dangleben is a good example. Dr. Sam Christian went home.
You have Dr. Augustine.
Yes, indeed.
Whose father, Victor Augustine, was my classmate at Iona at SMA.
That's right. He's a researcher in environmental studies and microbiology and those things.
Yes.
Dr. Christian went to Howard University Medical School, distinguished U.S. Army surgeon. My brother, Dr. Sam Christian, he went home and was never able to get a license.
Yeah.
At the hospital where he was born to practice.
Yes, exactly.
Dr. Dangleben went home, and I think only after 10 years he got a license. So the fact is, the government is not encouraging Dominicans to invest and to live and to work in Dominica in a way to increase the capacity in healthcare services and in business and so forth. You are in Dominica now. Tell me about the business organizations you've been able to witness that exist in Portsmouth, for instance. Are there any business societies, any National Business Council?
I know they have a Rotary Alliance Club in Portsmouth. When I grew up, we had the YCW, Young Christian Workers. I was a member of that. And they were the ones who sent me. I was selected to go to the third international conference in Bangkok, Thailand.
Amazing.
To represent Dominica in 1965.
Yes.
That was that. And of course, the YCW has been dismantled. And as I was telling you earlier, we had our own YCW headquarters here in Portsmouth.
Yes.
And we had that because we were able to buy a house, which was the domestic science center building in the yard of St. John's School. We bought that from the nuns. We had to compete with the Social League to get that. The Social League wanted the house because the nuns were in charge of the Social League, but they had no place to put the house. So when they asked the priest, Father Brevet said, I have one piece of land available, but I've already promised it to teacher LeRoy for the YCW. So since they had no place to put the house, the nuns were forced to sell us the house for $800.
Amazing.
And Neville Wade and myself, the priest father here at the time, we decided to drag the house from St. John's Schoolyard up the hill to put it where it belonged. I said, Father, we can't drag this house. It will take us forever. He said, no, we can do it. I've done it before. Well, we started 8 o'clock in the morning. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were right in front of Pushing's house in St. John's School. So thereupon, I called Neville Wade, your friend Neville Wade. He was up in Capuchin. And he came down with his truck and got a friend of his, Hayes Williams. They had 2 trucks, one in the front and one in the back. And they put the house on it and brought it up the hill in the back of the church.
Amazing.
And we put an extension on it, and he built a YCW center there. And
so for the folks who are listening, it was very common in Dominica in the old days to move houses on trucks, on rollers, on logs. But that doesn't happen anymore because the houses now are built of concrete with foundations.
Exactly.
But in those days,
they're still moving. In fact, just a few months ago, a house was moved across the street from me, from one lot to the other. Yeah.
Amazing. So they still do it.
Yeah, they still do it.
Well, I'm going to come now to the concluding part of the interview, and that will deal with your legacy and what you see for Dominica. We're concerned as Dominicans, those of us abroad, those of us in Dominica, about issues of governance, but more than that, issues of character, because we believe that people get the government they deserve. So oftentimes people complain about government, but they don't realize that they are the ones who constitute, in a democracy certainly, those who comprise government. I'm going to ask you a few things. I'm going to say a few things, and I want you to finish it, and then I'll talk about the character of our nation. Birds of a feather?
Flock together.
Waste not?
Want not.
Honesty?
Is the best policy.
Make hay?
While the sun shines.
A stitch in time?
Saves 9.
So why is it that I didn't lecture you about that before and you were able to answer 100% everything that I started, you were able to complete? Why is that?
Because we learned that in school. We learned that in school. In the back of my classroom at St. John's School, written in all English letters, where there is a will, there is a way.
Indeed.
In the back of the classroom.
Where there is a will, there's a way. So what has happened to the character of our nation, where things like honesty is the best policy, and a stitch in time saves 9, and make hay while the sun shines, are no longer the sort of value engineering principles by which we live?
Well, I think we have developed a culture of dependency. The old Chinese saying, if you give a man a fish, he eats for one day. But if you teach him how to fish, he will eat for many days. And if we have a culture of dependency where people expect to be handed out certain things and not be taught how to earn those certain things, you have that culture perpetuating itself.
Indeed.
For example, when I went to primary school in Portsmouth here, we had our school garden. That's where I learned to plant lettuce and tomatoes and these things. And when people in Portsmouth were having, in high school, were having their weddings, they said, I'm getting married in 3 months, could I have the lettuce for my sandwiches?
Yes.
We learned woodwork, carpentry. You see, I built my own boat. You see?
Amazing.
That kind of thing. You see? So again, Convent High School had academics and commercial, if you recall.
Yes.
The academics, they taught them typing, shorthand, and all that kind of thing. In other words, you had because we can't have one hat fitting everything. You have to have a diversity. Not all students may be academically inclined. Not that they are stupid, but they are better at working with their hands. They're better at tearing apart a computer and putting together, as opposed to learning trigonometry and geometry and those things. Yeah. But we have lost that woodwork in the school, taking the kids to the garden, the school garden, to learn agriculture, learning to learn a trade. We have lost that.
You know, it's interesting, as I listen to you, as a grammar school teacher in the late 70s, early 80s, I took the kids to the botanic gardens. I took them to the Coca-Cola factory.
Yes.
And I took them to the DCP, Dominica Coconut Products, to show them how soap was made.
Yes.
I don't know if I was told that we no longer have a Coca-Cola factory, bottling plant. The gardens are not well kept anymore. Yes. And there's no Dominica Coconut Products. I'm not sure if they're doing tours there. You know, so this sort of link between, as you say, education and the vocational sciences, vocational trades, and giving children a sense of work study by having school gardens. Our mother was a member of the 4-H club during the war. And she said they made they had their own garden, and they would squeeze cane to make juice and all those things. They had because the Germans were torpedoing the ships. So they couldn't get any of the food they would normally get imported. They had to make their own food.
Right here in Portsmouth, just above Benjamin's Park, just below the Roosevelt Douglas Primary School, there was a garden there where the ladies would plant things in the garden there above that, you see? And people would learn to do those things. And with pride. When I went to high school to get my books, I'd go to my grandmother's property in Bourne and peel coconuts and sell them at $4 a hundred.
Amazing.
To pay my books. Sugarcane in Sugarloaf Estate was on the side of the road like you have cordwood. Yes. And that cane was used to make the rum. My uncle in Roseau, Leo Emmanuel Monaghan, had his dumb fruit factory. Yes. And when I was at ACAD SMA on Saturdays, myself and his son, Kennedy Emmanuel, would go down to the factory and open the cartons to make sure that they were all ready. They were not perforated, they were not swelling. Quality control. Open the steel cartons and check every can, seal them back, and the boat would go and take the dumb fruit to England.
That's
and
right.
Elsewhere. As a matter of fact, dumb fruit won a competition in England against Libby's juices.
Amazing, huh? Yeah. We won a competition. Dominica's dumb fruit won a competition against the famous Libby's.
Yes, in England. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. These are the things that are so important in these interviews, that we learn about Dominica of old and try to place in the record the memories of people like yourself who went through a different country. Another concern we have, because we've rebuilt the Cadet Corps, was the leadership and teamwork sort of intelligence of our people. You know, you have academic capacity, you may have vocational trades capacity, but there's something about leadership and the desire to team that I find lacking on our culture. How do you explain, Professor Mitchell, that kind of deficit in teamwork, where people are not willing to join organization and pay their dues?
Well, when we were at the SMA, we had SMA group and the grammar school group. So we had people like Arthur James and Charles Savray who were at grammar school. We had myself, Richardson Pantier, Jerome Joseph, who else was there? Jerome Joseph, Neil Joseph, Pershing Waldron. When it came to Portsmouth, we formed our own cricket team called the Cambridge Sports Club.
Amazing.
And just yesterday, somebody was reminding me of the time that I took 16 of us on my father's boat, the small Seagull engine, up to Collyho to play cricket.
Amazing.
So we had that teamwork. Again, the YCW was the same thing. You see, YCW was what the theme of YCW is the dignity of work.
The dignity of work.
That's what.
Are you saying, stick a pin in that? Are you saying on Dominica, we've lost the spirit that speaks to that dignity of work?
Yes, exactly.
Tell me why so.
In the days when people used to think of people working in agriculture, all they looked for was the white-collar jobs. So if you're working in agriculture, they thought they looked down upon you. But the agriculturalists were the ones who made the most money. You had the Douglas, you had the Laville people, they had their estates. We had grapefruits, we had bananas, we had coconuts. We used to export sugarcane. We used to export coconut to Barbados to make sweet oil, which would then sell back to us for cooking. Yes. But in my farm here, for example, I can hardly get somebody to even, we had cocoa. I was talking to somebody the other day. You'd be walking around the streets of Portsmouth smelling vanilla beans ripening in big trays on the side of the road.
Yes.
Now tell me who now remembers how to pollinate a vanilla flower.
Indeed. So you're saying we've lost the tradition of work on Dominica?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, because I think in certain respects, people learned, they went to school it came from the hinterlands, from the country, you call it, to Roseau, and there they realized that the white-collar job was the thing, and they would never go back. They frowned upon the go back to agriculture. Now, the other thing is, we in Dominica, the government has done very well in sending people to study in addition to where the academy sent us to China and so on to study. But I think a better method of handling this was saying, look, we need agriculturalists in Dominica. If anybody wants to go to study agriculture and come back, we have a scholarship for you. We need engineers. If anybody wants to study engineering, we have a scholarship for you. We need botanists. If anybody wants to study botany. But the fact of saying we're going to put a graduate in every household without defining the needs of the country.
Yes. So you're saying to me, what I'm hearing is that there needs to be a correlationship between the particular workforce needs and the workforce development. So you do not do workforce development unless you've identified the specific needs in agriculture, the specific needs in marine engineering, the specific needs in agro-processing, the specific needs in telecommunications. And when you've identified those needs, then you create the educational facility to train people to go into those needs. So you don't just train people for things that they cannot really
apply when they come home.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
Let me say
so now we have more lawyers in Dominica walking all over each other.
Well, not only that, they're now involved in mischief.
Right.
And many of them, I'll tell you, I'll be very critical. The majority of the lawyers in Dominica, as far as I've been able to determine, they do not go into the schools to mentor.
Mm-hmm.
They do not constitute part of civic organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them involved in nation building. You see, because let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that Abraham Lincoln was who started the United States Department of Agriculture?
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln, what was his profession?
Agriculturalist.
No, sir. He was a lawyer.
Yeah, lawyer.
Are you aware, LeRoy Mitchell, that Abraham Lincoln started the National Academy of Sciences?
Yeah.
He was a lawyer. Are you aware, listen, hold on. Are you aware, LeRoy Mitchell, that together with Senator Justin Morrill of Vermont, the abolitionists, that it was Abraham Lincoln and Morrill who instituted the first Land Grant University Act of 1862?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And Morrill did the Land Grant Act of 1890?
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln also is today the only US president to have had a patent issued in his name for an invention to raise boats from the water where they had sunk into viability or to
with the phantoms. Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that because Lincoln is a hero of mine. He was a lawyer.
Yes.
But he did not disassociate himself from science and technology and agriculture and development and education. He used his knowledge of law to facilitate the development of the United States, through which facility of higher education by the 1900s was a powerhouse.
Yes.
And so I am saying to all lawyers who will listen to this, that the true Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, what was his profession?
Lawyer.
Lawyer.
Yeah.
He was a lawyer. Yet Singapore today is one of the most advanced economies on earth through his marriage of legal knowledge, science, technology, business acumen, business architecture to make that country a dynamic economy. And so I'm saying to all lawyers in the Caribbean and Africa in particular, even the United States, to see themselves as agents of social and scientific technological transformation.
Yes.
Do not see law in the narrow confines of going to court or doing a legal document, but see law as the sort of vehicle for the transformation of the society in ways beneficial. Speak to that, sir.
Yeah. Well, when I grew up, there were about 5 prominent lawyers in Dominica. Today, you have hundreds of them running over each other. When I grew up, there was Virginia Charles, Beau Soleil, Jupini, Mr. James, and General Armour came later. But it was Jupini, Beau Soleil, James, and Lockhart, the lawyers here. And they were the ones who were the first, now you have so many lawyers, everybody goes and study law.
Yeah.
Law, as you said, has the basis for a lot of things,
Indeed.
but not just the narrow avenue to which you can find it.
Indeed.
You see,
Indeed.
and that is the thing.
Oh,
So,
Dominica is suffering greatly, where a lot of our brilliant minds are stuck within, and then a lot of them get into selling the same passports.
yeah.
And where does the money go? Does it go into science, technology, factories, farms, institutes of physics?
Mm-hmm.
Do they do inventions like Lincoln did? No.
Mm-hmm.
They simply, sell the passports and get engaged in money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite frustrating, frankly, that some of the people I know, that is what they've chosen to do, as opposed to using their time, knowing that our time here on earth is finite. We're not here forever. To try to improve the community within which we live. Tell me the importance of civic education and community engagement.
Oh my God. Civic education is paramount. The students have to know their history. They have to know the government. I mean, when I went to school, we knew all the capitals of the Caribbean. We knew all the governors, all the prime ministers, knew all that. And as a matter of fact, I brought that same civic mindedness to America in 2004, 2002, when I threatened to run for the city council in New Rochelle because I did not like the person who was representing my district. By the time I realized what was going on, is the time that they were redistricting. They redistricted me, they drew the district line around my house. So I could not compete against that person. Thereupon, I went to the mayor, who was a friend of mine. I said, look, Doc, I mean, you could only move the line a quarter of an inch so I could get back into my district. Said, no, Doc, if we move the line, we will disenfranchise this group. And said, Doc, if you continue that way, I'm going to sue. Says the city's lawyer said, I haven't got a case. So I did not sue them in state court. I sued them in federal court. And I won the case. For those who say you can't fight City Hall, I have the case 2004. It was Judge, I forgot his name, but he was a famous jurist in White Plains. And the judge said to them, you've got to put Mr. Mitchell back in his district, because what happened was they were trying to bifurcate the African American district.
Indeed.
To dilute it.
Indeed.
And I fought to, because where I live in New Rochelle is the historic district. It's the second oldest planned community in the United States.
Indeed.
So at that time, it was that I sued them and were victorious in the case, and they had to put the district back together again.
Indeed.
And it was around that time, I think I was nominated to be on the board of directors of Westchester Community College.
Indeed.
But I have served up to now, and I'm currently the chair of the board.
Indeed. Indeed.
And that's what happened.
So this is a wonderful time to now having gone through your academic training, your early days, your contributions to education in New York and also here on Dominica. Tell us a little bit about the International Graduate School for Studies that you're involved with, and then you can conclude by telling me, by telling the listening audience, making an appeal maybe to our young men and women as to what it is they can do to help improve the nation that we're proud to say we're from, Dominica.
The International College, the International University of Graduate Studies, was started by a mentor of mine from Iona University called Benjamin Wiseman. It started as a psychotherapy institute in St. Kitts and Antigua. And then when he was getting older and so on, he says, LeRoy, why don't we move the institution, the college, to Dominica? What we do is this. I don't know if you realize that there are more ABDs out there, all but dissertation, than there are PhDs. A lot of people start off with getting their PhD, and some way or another, they drop out. They did not finish their dissertation. So what the International University of Graduate Studies does, it takes those people, evaluates the credentials they've had from the universities they have, and we assist them in getting their doctorate. Just last year, I sat on a doctoral committee for someone who was a Harvard lawyer, and we got him to get it. And so we established that in Dominica, and what we did was we required them to come to Dominica for their residency. During the summer, they come here for 3 weeks residency where the professors come down and they lecture. And we even had a graduation here. But when COVID came and Maria came, that disrupted the whole situation, you see. But we are still vibrant. And I said, we just had some new investors trying to resuscitate the whole thing. Right now, we are working on our relicensure and our reaccreditation. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Well, listen, I just want to compliment you on your continuing efforts in education. What would you say to a young, well, before I do that, would you be willing to work with the Dominica State College and lend your services to them in way of
Sure.
what you learned?
I would be. In fact, I'm the former president, Peters, Donald Peters, a good friend of mine. I know him very well. We collaborate together. Yeah.
The current director is Trudy Christian. She's a relative of mine. I'll be happy to share her information with you.
Yes.
I do think your background in higher education would be would well serve the State College. So I'll try to facilitate that.
Yeah.
But in concluding, I just want to take a moment to salute you for not only being an outstanding academician in the way of accounting and business education, but also taking time to invest in your country, visiting your country, because, you know, the foreign exchange that you earned in the United States did not go to space or to some other place. It was spent buying land, building homes, and your contributions to the academy. So I wanted to thank you for the work you did with Raglan Rivera, Dave Shillingford, Clayton Shillingford, to try to help improve the quality of life on Dominica. In concluding, Dr. Mitchell, what would you say to a young man or woman of Dominican birth in way of inspiring them to civic leadership and community development?
Well, the young people of Dominica have to see the value of being a leader. We have to see the value of working with others to uplift the country. I mean, your father, your uncle H.L. Christian, was the one who wrote the music for the national anthem, wasn't he?
Lemuel Christian, not H.L. H.L. was the educator and the social worker.
Yeah.
Lemuel was the musician.
And William Pond wrote the words.
Wilfred Oscar Morgan Pond. He wrote the words. Lemuel McPherson Christian wrote the music.
Exactly. And my former student, Alwyn Bully, designed the flag.
That's correct.
Okay, you see. So what I'm saying is there's a collaboration.
Yes.
To make Dominica what it is.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. You see. So the whole and we have to learn civics. I mean, if you ask a lot of the students today in Dominica, who is the Minister of Education? Who is the Minister of this? Or back in our days, there were only about 4 ministers.
That's
Minister of Minister of Public Works, the Prime Minister, Minister of Education, and I think Minister of Health, whatever it was. But the point is, didn't have that many.
5. You're talking about the Prime Minister was usually Minister of Finance, Minister of Education and Health, Minister of Public Works, Minister of Home Affairs, and Attorney General. That's it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You see, but now we have
18,
and I don't know that the economy of the country can sustain that. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, not only that, you made a very good point. You know, if you were to ask me, I couldn't tell you. I maybe know the Prime Minister, Minister of Agriculture, more than anything else because maybe of a personal relationship with some family member of his. But other than that, Minister of Education, I think I taught her at the grammar school. But other than that, most of the other ministers are faceless and nameless. And I don't see the economy to support that sort of top-heavy government.
Exactly. That's the thing, you see. And so but I think we have to go back to basics. Do that which we know how to do best. And that is to develop our agricultural framework. We can develop our banana industry. Of course, the market has diminished, but for example, I was talking to somebody earlier. We used to make clay pots, clay jars. Before there were refrigerators, we had goblets to put our water to keep it cool. These, to me, would be very good tourist things to sell.
Yes.
Go back to making those coal pots, those coal terrines.
Yes.
Teaching. We could even import some people in from our country who are famous in doing this glazing, this pottery, this.
Oh, you're
and to
talking
teach,
my language. We have
and
to be able to use citizenship as a strategic measure to
yeah,
get in people who are scientists, people who are productive,
brain,
industrialists, no brain gain.
yes,
Bring people who can build
yeah,
factories, build agriculture. So that
yeah.
way their capacity, their skill builds up the economy.
Yeah,
You
to
know,
make
you
the
sell a
porcelain
passport.
dishes.
Hold
Yeah.
on, listen to me. You sell a passport for $250,000. You take the money and you money launder it. The person has a passport. What is the benefit of the economy? That $250,000 doesn't even get recycled in the economy because you buy some mansion in Dubai or someplace. Whereas if you bring somebody in specifically to build a factory, to build a hotel, to build a small plant, to do glazing, for instance, to do
Yes,
glass
teach.
working,
Yes.
then you have something that you can then train people, employ people, increase the economic output of the country.
Look at all the plastic we throw away. The sea is now inundated with plastic. All the plastic we consume. In America, you take that same plastic, you melt it, and you make benches for the parks.
Brother Mitchell, my deck used to be made of wood. My
Right.
deck is now made of plastic
Oh,
board, sir.
exactly, right. So we could, all this plastic we are throwing away in the land waste, could teach people, and we look at in Africa, people are collecting the plastic from the garbage heaps and
Yes,
converting it into board to build boats.
indeed, indeed.
Yes.
So I'm happy to say that we're contributing to the building of maybe what is Mr. Wade's last boat. And, we believe that we need to get into things like agriculture, marine sciences, boat building, industry. We have lacked in the past 30 years a focus on agro industry, on small plants that can process our agricultural So we brought in 399 breadfruit plants with the help of Dr. Julius Garvey, who was the former chief surgeon at Harlem Hospital. His father was the late, great Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey's son is a member and supporter of Rebuild Dominica.
Yeah.
He gave 1,000 plants to Jamaica. He gave us 399 plants in 2015. Several were blown down by the hurricane, but the farmer at Castle Bruce, you must visit him. His name is Adrian Bannis. I'll give you his information. Visit his plant. He has made a small breadfruit chip plant. And he sent me half a dozen bags of breadfruit chips made from the plants that Marcus Garvey's son donated to Dominica. And when Marcus Garvey's son, Dr. Julius Garvey, got the bags of chips, very well done, like Doritos or potato chips, he said that my island of Jamaica, to which I donated 1,000 breadfruit plants, has not sent me back anything to show what they've done with it, but Dominica has. Yes. So I salute Adrian Bannis, Errol Emmanuel, Dr. Sam Christian, Dr. Garvey, and all the others who worked on that project, because that shows what you can do where, like Mr. Bannis, and I will send you the video where he's thanking Garvey next to one of the trees. It's Mafala breadfruit. It's a short breadfruit. We never had it before in Dominica, I don't think. All breadfruit trees are much taller. And he has moved from conceptualization to actualization. And Dr. Garvey had the actual thing in his hand. So without any government support as such, although the government's Minister of Agriculture at the time, they did allow us to harden some of the plants at the 1 Mile Agricultural Station. So I give kudos to the government for helping with that.
Yes.
And, but we need to have more of that collaborative for agriculture.
Well, we import potato chips from America. Whereas we can make our banana chips, green plantain chips. You could make that and package it. You buy it in the stores.
Indeed.
You could make dashing chips. You could make dried mangoes you buy in the stores in America.
Yes.
The dried mangoes.
Yes.
All the dried gooseberries and so forth.
Yes.
My sister here makes gooseberries and sells them on a stick.
On a stick. I like it actually. It's very nice.
Yeah. So is that
on a cocoa stick?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay.
So Dr. Mitchell, close us off. I mean, we've had a fantastic interview. We've spanned the spectrum. Were you ever, by the way, involved in Carnival? Was that something that took your fancy?
Carnival?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Carnival in Portsmouth.
Yes.
I took part in Carnival in Portsmouth. We had a team called the Hawks. We had a white shirt with a beak of a hawk on the front. Yeah.
Yes. And what was the long run? Explain the long run?
Oh, well, the long run, the guy would take off from the middle and come back into the band,
Yes.
Yeah.
I only saw that in Portsmouth,
Yes.
In Rochelle, where I grew up, that was not something that was a concept.
Yeah. And I stayed away from Carnival from that fire in '63. Since that time, I said, I'm not, so I didn't come to Dominica for Carnival. I come and I watch on the side, but I don't, we used to have our own bands here and several bands. Unfortunately, now in Portsmouth in particular, you had the band come out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
Hardly anything. Well, we had our full bands, 3-4 bands in Portsmouth.
Yes.
Competing with Roseau.
Yes.
Now we no longer have that.
Yes.
We used to have our own Carnival Queen show in Portsmouth.
Yes.
At Christmas time, we had carols selling on Christmas, going to the homes, singing carol in front of people's doors, and then open the door and give us a drink.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you're saying the culture has changed somewhat?
Yes, it has changed. You no longer have that. Now it's CO and Botin, but the camaraderie and the friendship,
yes,
is no longer there.
Indeed.
It's commercialized, if you will.
Yes. Well, Dr. Mitchell, I want to just commend you for, again, your academic achievements, your contributions to community, your contributions to the Dominica Academy of Arts and Sciences, and certainly has been one of those Dominicans who's never far from home. In fact, I'm talking to you now from your home in Dominica.
Exactly right. Yes,
indeed. So you spend half the time in Dominica now?
Well, I come down here 3-4 times a year.
Yes, indeed.
3-4 times per year. This time I came I was supposed to have been here in August, in April after my tax season, but I had a few other commitments in the States, one of which was the graduation ceremony at the college where I'm the chair of the board, and I have to attend that, So I delayed my coming down. So I'm here now for 3 weeks, and then I should be back in August. And I come here at Christmas time with my son. We spend Christmas here together.
Yes. And what is the draw? And by the way, tell us about your wife and your kids.
Well, my wife, she's an anesthesiologist.
Yes.
And she's now branching off into telemed.
What's her name?
Her name is Dr. Janice Francis.
And your son?
My son is Christopher Mitchell.
How many kids do you have in all?
Just one. My son went to Brown University.
Yes.
He majored in entrepreneurship and art history.
Amazing.
And he got his master's degree in human resources at New York University.
Outstanding. Is your wife a Dominican?
She's Antiguan.
Antiguan.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, God bless her and your son, Christopher, and your wife's first name again was
Janice, Dr. Janice Francis. Yeah.
Dr. Janice Francis.
And I have a stepdaughter. Her name is Ryan Williams now. Yeah.
Outstanding. If I were to ask you in conclusion, what is the draw that keeps pulling you back to Dominica? What is the beauty?
I love my country. It's a laid-back country. I love going to visit my house. Yes. I can tell you, I am 300 feet from the water.
Amazing.
Okay, my terrace overlooks the Caribbean Sea.
Amazing.
And my terrace goes around the house, so I can see Mon Español. I can see the Cabrites. I can see the Point Round. I can look at Mont Diablo 10, which I climbed twice, by the way.
Amazing.
And I was the climbing guide, the guide for the sailors on the HMS Ursa when they visited Dominica. I took them up the Mont Diablo 10. In those days, there was no track.
When was that?
Back in 1964, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Before you went to the States?
Yes, exactly, yes. And you had to make notches on the tree so you can find your way back on the trees.
Amazing.
And when you get to the top, you are not standing on the soil. You're on the roots of trees that are intertwined.
Amazing.
Roots. And the sailors, their army coat can be put together as a tent. So we spent the night up in Mont Diablo 10.
Amazing.
And they had just come with the battleship from Jamaica So they brought their Jamaican rum and their rations and so on and so forth, and we had a jolly good time up at the peak of Mont Diablo Tang. Yes,
That's
yes,
a
yes,
fantastic story.
yes, yes, yes.
HMS Ursa. How do you spell Ursa?
URSA.
URSA. Ursa. I looked
Yeah,
that up.
yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
HMS Ursa. Yeah.
You
They
know, the
came down.
British are very good at record keeping.
Yeah,
And when I wrote the story of HMS Fife, which was the first ship to our rescue after
Yeah.
Hurricane David,
yeah.
do you know I got a letter? First of all, a couple months after, it was on the Dominican.net that was started by Dr. Thompson Fontaine.
Uh-huh.
I came back to the article and there were about 10 comments from sailors complimenting me on the article, saying that they were sailors about the ship and they were
Yeah.
not retired. And the boat had been sold to Chile, the Chilean Navy, and then that's, you know, it had been later on, you know, sold for scrap. And they formed an HMS Fife Association.
Ah, I see.
And 2 or 3 years later, I got a letter from the Archbishop of Oxford, who said he had been a sailor aboard the ship and thanking me for the article. And do you know when Tropical Storm Erica hit?
I was in Dominica.
Cannon, his name was Cannon Walk. He was a Cannon, C-A-N-O-N.
Yeah.
He sent £100 to rebuild Dominica.
Ah, yeah. I was in Dominica when Erica hit. I left Dominica on the ferry.
Amazing.
Via Martinique and St. Lucia to fly back to America. Yeah.
Amazing. So I just say that maybe when I go online, I might find something for the HMS
Ursa. Yes.
Association.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what happened. On our way down, one of the soldiers missed his stepping and he rolled down a precipice.
Oh boy.
And we had to go look for him. So of course we lost our way. We found his gun hanging on a tree, we took it down, and we found at the bottom. But we can't get back up there. So we walked down, we kept going down, and we found the river.
I see.
That is the Syndicate River.
And you followed the river?
Exactly. So the river must go, and the river took us back to Syndicate. Yes.
Amazing. And the sailor or the soldier was okay?
He was fine. Of course, they know the role. You know, they fall and they know the role. You know,
yes.
It was fine. Yeah, it was fine.
Amazing. Well, listen, Dr. Mitchell, this has been fantastic. I want to thank you so much again. Any final words?
Well, the final word is I wish that the people of Dominica would realize that the future of Dominica is in their hands. They are the ones who have to determine whether Dominica sinks or swims. Because Dominica is at a turning point right now. And it behooves the people of Dominica to seek the right leadership, the leadership for the moment, who will take Dominica out of the doldrums in which it now exists. We are, in fact, my former student, McCarthy Murray, I watch him, he's a Harvard-educated individual in Roseau, businessman, and he tells us statistically that we have more deaths in Dominica for the last 3 years than births. And that's a very, very poor statistic. It's dangerous. We would not be able to rebuild that stuff. If you have more people dying than being born, and he ascribes that to the fact that for several reasons. Number one, he says the ladies, the women, are taking longer to be educated. They go to advance themselves. So by the time they return, their childbearing age is cut short, you know, and they have very few children. But he said also, I don't know if you're aware of that, that back in the 80s, there was some kind of insecticide that was used in the bananas to kill the aphids that were attacking the bananas. And apparently that thing had an impact on the reproductiveness of the males.
Interesting.
Yes. Dr. McCarthy Murray said that. And that was part of the problem. But there's two things. That insect. So we have to be very careful with what kind of insecticides we bring into Dominica.
Dr. Mitchell, that is exactly why we wanted to have an Academy of Arts and Sciences. We cannot depend on the National Institutes of Health of the United States or the Centers for Disease Control of the United States to do for us what we have the capacity to do for ourselves, you know.
Exactly.
We have all kinds of epidemiologists, all kinds of scientists, but they're not in Dominica. So we need to understand that we need a National Academy of Sciences where we can do our own research and our own analysis, so we're not buying junk that can come into our country and kill us off.
Yeah. This thing called Roundup, which we used to have, is killing people.
Of course.
It pollutes our soil. It goes into our river, our water sources. The fertilizer we use, if you notice, when you use fertilizer in your soil, you have to keep putting fertilizer in to get any crops.
Yes.
My farm in Valley, on the heights of Carthage, of Tukari, I have cocoa trees that are over 100 years old, planted by my great-grandparents. We do not put fertilizer in our soil.
I believe we need to remove that sort of dependence on foreign agriculture inputs and try to create organic-based agriculture inputs.
Yes.
Because remember, Dominica was fruitful for thousands of years before the Europeans came.
Yeah, even the fruits we eat now, the foods you have to suspect that if they have fertilizer, they're no longer organic.
That's correct. So I am all for a creation of a National Agriculture Institute where we can create our own composting and our own organic manure and so on. That's where we need to go. Because if we do not do that, we cannot call ourselves the Nature Isle. The Nature Isle is just what I call a sort of useless nomenclature that doesn't have any reality within it, because we are basing our sustenance on imported agricultural inputs that are not always, let's say, helpful to our health and well-being.
Go back to getting the droppings from the cattle and the fowls and the bats as our fertilizer.
I agree.
A few years ago, there was a study that the men in Martinique came in with an extraordinary amount of prostate cancer.
Yes.
And it was traced to the fertilizer and the things they put in the soil, which washed into the sea, and they ate the fish. And in fact, what happened?
That's correct. So Martinique and Guadeloupe, I think, have suffered from a high level of cancer and other anomalies, other issues and diseases from this wanton and reckless and mindless use of foreign
fertilizer and these foreign things in our soil.
Yeah, indeed. And so we have to be mindful of that, and we can only address those things in an intelligent manner, not by having jump up and drunk, doping and drinking rum, but by creating institutions of higher education like Agriculture Institute or National Academy of Sciences, where we can use our brilliance, our minds, to analyze that which benefits us, and so we can keep away that which is inimical to our health and well-being, and to keep, focus on that which we can develop within Dominica that's organic, that doesn't have any sort of degrading impact on our health and welfare.
Why should we be importing pigs out?
No need.
You see, we had somebody who came in who studied food technology in England, Royal George, and he came here and he was raising pig and was selling smoked meat and pigs and so on in Roseau.
We bought his stuff. We bought his stuff because we're a family. We bought his stuff because my brother may have been taught by you. His name was Wellsworth Christian.
Most likely, yes.
He came in 64, I think, 63, 64.
Yeah, I thought I was right. Yeah, at the time.
You were teaching at the time.
Yeah.
And he became the first veterinary surgeon on Dominica, first chief veterinary officer. But we had pigs, we had sheep, we had goat, we had cattle, we had chickens. And so from my very early years to the morning I left for the United States, I went to see the cattle at Stock Farm. So I helped to raise animals all through my time on Dominica. I helped raise animals, slaughter animals. And so we need to get back to training young people to be involved in animal husbandry.
Yeah, we have no reason to be importing beef. We could grow our own. We used to have our own pigs. We used to have our own chickens. Persian used to raise. I used to raise tomatoes and lettuce and so forth. Persian would raise the chickens. I used chicken manure put in my beds, my vegetable beds.
Indeed, yes.
One hand washes the other. You see what I'm saying?
It's so funny you said that. As I listened to you, we used to have in the backyard okra, pumpkin, lettuce,
spinach,
watercress by the pipe,
and
tomatoes.
And you had the callaloo growing on the fence.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to do that, you see.
Well, listen, you know, we could go on all day, Dr. Mitchell.
And vanillas. I told you about vanillas earlier on.
Yes.
But we were exporting vanillas.
Yes.
We were exporting vanillas. People have trays and trays of vanillas drying on the side of the road.
Yes.
No longer have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my hope is that this video interview with you will be seen as educational for those who will come after. And I just want to again encourage young Dominicans to be diligent in their educational pursuits like you were. And once they've attained the degree of education, not to forget, as you have not obviously forgotten, and to come back and to make a contribution to the onward march of our civilization. Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you very much.
This has been a wonderful interview.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's an honor to have dialogued with you in this capacity. And I always see that you are fishing out those of us who have gone out and have bettered ourselves and have tried to tease the whole thing from our minds and that is good. And it is good that people will see that what can come from a little island, 305 square miles. In fact, I was looking up the other day, Dominica is smaller than the county in which I live in the States. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we have such a wealth of knowledgeable people out there. It would be great if we could harness the cumulative or the accumulation of that wealth and knowledge and apply it somehow, some way, Dominica. If only the fathers that be are willing to accept.
Indeed.
That's what I say.
Well, God bless you, and we hope that there will be that receptivity, inclusivity, and unity of purpose without which we cannot long endure. God bless you on Corpus Christi Sunday, and may God bless us all and keep us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.